Good morning.
Good morning.
The April 15, 2026 meeting of the Board of Estimates is now called to order. The board continues to meet in a hybrid format. For those here in person, please take a moment to silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. For those attending virtually, if you desire an opportunity to speak, we ask that you please keep yourself on mute until the chair recognizes you. When you are called upon, please announce your name and organization and speak loudly and clearly as you present. At this time, I would like to ask the clerk for any corrections, additions, and noted extensions for today's agenda.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. We have the following corrections to note this morning. SB 26-10902. This is for the Department of Real Estate, an amendment to lease agreement 901 North Newkirk Street under amount of money and source. We're deleting $298,213,164 and replacing it with the much more reasonable amount of $2,982,131. And now the Department of Public Works can relax. We do have 3 walk-ons this morning. SB 26-11157. Procurement Board of Elections, award RFQ 000795 for mobile surveillance cameras for ballot boxes for $227,500. SB 26-11277 for procurement, a select source, pool maintenance and repair for $500,000. And SB 26-11052 for the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success, a transfer of funds for $900,000. We have the following deferrals to note this morning. SB 26-10995, Procurement Award RFQ 000751, HVAC Maintenance, Repair, and Installation. This item is being deferred until May 6th at the request of procurement. SB 26-11078, Procurement Select Source Award RFQ 053251, Automated Traffic Violation Enforcement System for $7,643,448. This item is deferred until May 6th at the request of procurement. SB 26-11098, Procurement Award Select Source RFQ 053219, Speed and Red Light Enforcement System, AGC 7000. Transportation, American Traffic Solutions. This transaction amount is $9,494,930, and it has been deferred until May 6th at the request of procurement. And SB 26-11014, Law Resolution, Removal of Owner-Occupied Properties Valued Under $250,000 from the 2026 tax sale. This item is deferred until May 6th at the request of the Law Department. We have no withdrawals this morning. We have the following protests and/or statements of opposition or support to note this morning. On SB 26-10995, Bureau Procurement Award RFQ 000751, HVAC Maintenance, Repair, and Installation, a protest has been received from BMC, and a protest has been received from Robert DeShiel representing BMC. For SB 26-11014, Law Resolution, Removal of Owner-Occupied Properties Valued Under $250,000 from the 2026 tax sale, a statement of support has been received from Nika Namdi, and I apologize if I mispronounced that. A statement of support with comments has been received from Claudia Wilson Randall on behalf of the Community Development Network of Maryland. A statement of support has been received from Megan Good on behalf of Maryland Volunteer Lawyers Service. A statement of support with comments has been received from Allison Harris on behalf of the Pro Bono Resource Center of Maryland, and a statement of support has been received from the Shauna Roth Gormley on behalf of the Community Law Center. And again, just a reminder, this item has now been deferred until May 6th at the request of the Law Department. And SB 26-10899, Department of Transportation Developers Agreement number 1954-A. A statement of opposition has been received from Ms. Joan Floyd, and a statement of opposition has been received from Ms. Hillary Gonzalez. There have been 27 additional statements of opposition received, but those all were received after the deadline, Madam President. The following items will appear on the non-routine agenda this morning. SB 2610899, Department of Transportation, Developers Agreement Number 1954-A. SB 2611009, Audits. Sorry about that, there's a repeat here, and I'm reading it. This is, again, SB 2611009, Audits, Baltimore City Fire Department, Follow-Up Performance Audit for FY 24 and 23. SB 2611025, Audits, Biennial Performance Audit of Baltimore Development Corporation, Evaluation of Internal Controls Related to Selected Performance Measures. SB 2610853, Law Department, Darrell Bailey versus Mayor and City Council of Baltimore, et al., Case C24CV240028863. SB 2514625, Public Works, Emergency Procurement, Schaefer Plastics, North America, LLC. SB 2512907, Public Works, Amendment 6 to Snagro Technologies, LLC. SB 2514797, Public Works, Amendment 4 to Agreement, Snagro Technologies, LLC. SB 2611157, Procurement Board of Elections, Award RFQ 000795, Mobile Surveillance Cameras for Ballot Boxes. SB 2611277, Procurement, Select Source, Pool Maintenance and Repair. And SB 2611052 for the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success, a transfer of funds. We have the following abstentions to note this morning. The Honorable Mayor Brandon Scott is abstaining on the following: SB 26105541, Health Department Subrecipient Agreement with the Johns Hopkins University. SB 26105548, Health Department Amendment 1 to Agreement with Johns Hopkins University. SB 26102219, Health Department Amendment 1 to an agreement with Johns Hopkins University. And SB 26108999, Department of Transportation Developers Agreement 1954-A. The City Administrator, I do not believe, has any abstentions to note this morning.
No.
Thank you, ma'am. The Honorable President Z. Cohen is absent this morning. The Honorable Vice President Sharon Middleton is abstaining on SB 2610931. This is a City Council employee travel request of her own. The Honorable Comptroller Bill Henry is abstaining on all travel requests and all travel reimbursements. City Solicitor Ebony Thompson is abstaining on SB 2611048 for the Law Department and employee travel reimbursement of her own. And the Director of Public Works, Matt Garbark, has no abstentions to note this morning. And Madam Vice President, we also have no votes to note on the routine agenda, and that concludes the opening statement for this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I ask for a motion to approve and adopt the opening statement as read by the clerk.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The opening statement has been adopted. So before we go to the routine agenda, I want to recognize Sheriff Sam Cogan. You had asked if you could come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other, the button with the little person.
And this is for item 26-01896. And you're on.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the Board of Estimates. I'm here to say thank you to the mayor, right, for working through the Labor Commissioner that did a wonderful, where are you? Right here. And her staff, who did a wonderful job. And today we're here to, I guess, pass our labor contract, which recognizes that the deputy sheriffs are going to receive a 17% pay increase. And over the next 3 years, and career longevity steps, and now have a career path, and enhanced safety, and enhanced accountability when it comes to what their schedules are. And it's a recognition of the hard work that the deputy sheriffs do in the city, with the city, in partnership with City Hall and in partnership with the mayor. And I can't thank Mayor Brandon Scott enough for the work that he's put into this, and to finally recognize the hard work of the men and women of the Sheriff's Office. So, I would be remiss not to say that here today. And I just, again, I'm so happy that we have a labor contract that everyone could agree on that really is going to allow us to retain and recruit some of the best women and men around in order to be our deputy sheriffs to serve our city. So thank you, and thank you for recognizing me. And I'll let you go on to your business. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. And our Labor Commissioner, would you like to say some final words?
Good morning, members of the board.
Push that.
Now, good morning, members of the board. Deborah Moore Carter, Labor Commissioner. I also want to thank Sam Hogan. I want to thank the members of FOP Lodge 22. Thank you so much, because at times it looked like we would not reach agreement. Everybody does not get what they want in an MOU, but finally we reached agreement. So the next item for me on the agenda is to work on getting those raises in effect, as well as the retroactive payments. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Labor Commissioner, and thank you for your experience and longevity in working with all of the unions and negotiating this. I know firsthand that this administration is a true partner in helping with that. And yes, go ahead.
Yes, good morning. So I too would like to take the opportunity to thank Sheriff Sam Cogan as well as our Madam Labor Commissioner. This year, we've seen a number of contracts come before the Board of Estimates because we were at the table with all of our unions at the same time this year. So this has absolutely been a very intense negotiating cycle, but we have the best in the business running our labor department. And so again, just really want to thank you, Madam Labor Commissioner, and want to thank the sheriff deputies for everything that you do for the city of Baltimore every day. And I'm glad that we could get this agreement ratified, and we're going to get your raises in process. So thank you.
Thank you. And any other board member comments? Moving on. I now direct the board members' attention to the memorandum from the Council President's Office dated April 15, 2026, identifying matters to be considered as routine agenda items together with any corrections, additions, abstentions, and no votes that have been noted by the clerk. I will entertain a motion to approve all the items contained on the routine agenda.
So moved.
Second.
And this agenda will be adopted.
Oh, we have to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. This has been adopted. It has been moved and properly second. Oh, and I'm saying it again, sorry. Seeing no further questions, we'll now move to the non-routine agenda. The first item on the non-routine agenda is from the Department of Transportation under SB 10899. This is a request to approve a developer's agreement for the Johns Hopkins University to construct a new conduit and roadway improvements on behalf of DOT. We have Director Veronica McBeth, and the Chief of Staff is representing Director McBeth. The floor is yours. Please come up.
Good morning, Madam Vice President, members of the board. Patrick Fleming on behalf of the Department of Transportation, Chief of Staff. Actually, pretty quickly, I'll turn this over to partners at Johns Hopkins, and they can explain their proposal.
If I have a question for DOT, do you want me to ask now or wait till after their presentation? Okay, I'll wait till after the
Yep.
okay.
And before you begin to, I'd like to address Councilwoman Odette Ramos of the 14th District here today as well. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
I'm Caroline Hecker with Rosenberg Martin on behalf of Johns Hopkins, and I'm joined by Lee Coyle, who I'll let introduce himself.
Lee Coyle, Senior Director of Planning and Architecture for Johns Hopkins University. Madam President.
Good morning. You may begin.
So,
Just a warning, we don't have the mayor here as AV support.
I remember that moment.
We're going to do the best we can.
Okay.
Here it comes.
Ah, perfect. Okay. All right, so I will be as brief as possible. So, first of all, thank you all for your attention this morning. This is basically a presentation of the duct bank that will be installed primarily on Howard Street, running from the 23rd Street BGE station to the Johns Hopkins University campus. We will be building and installing this duct bank at no cost to either BGE or the public. We will basically be doing the work as prescribed by DOT between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. The lanes will all be open and the parking will all be open during rush hour. We're going to schedule the work to minimize disruption of the businesses along that route and provide parking alternatives for residents and businesses. This duct bank is meant to serve both new buildings and existing buildings on the JHU campus. This is to meet our own sustainability goals, which I'll explain in a minute, but also the state of Maryland's requirements for zero carbon by the year 2045. Why are we doing this? Well, it's actually been 30 years since we've provided a new power supply for electricity to the Homewood campus. In that 30 years, a lot has changed. The demand for electricity has increased. Our students bring 4 to 5 devices to every class now. They're always wanting to charge these up. And we are facing basically the need to decarbonize. That means more electricity. Fossil fuels that heat and cool our buildings will no longer be used in the near future, and it'll all be electrified.
We recognize that computer from 1988.
We still have it.
I'm glad it's not this one, so.
Exactly.
So our commitments to sustainability are published on our website. We basically are looking to purchase all of our electricity from renewable sources by 2030. We do purchase a fair amount of it today from renewable sources. We're diverting waste stream and from landfills and incineration down to 50% of what it is today by 2030. We are basically refitting our light duty and passenger vehicles to all electric by 2030. And you may have noticed that our heavy duty vehicles, our buses that go from the Homewood campus to Peabody to the health system are electric. We just rolled out 5 new buses earlier this year. And we've also established what we call high performance and healthy building guidelines for all new construction. This basically enforces the need for sustainability in our construction. All the projects that are constructed on the campus from this day forth are going to follow those rules. Again, Maryland, the Climate Solution Act, now Act of 2022, requires institutions like us to reduce 60% by 2031 our greenhouse gas consumption and go to net zero emissions by 2045. Again, we are trying to beat that by 5 years. Our commitment for our sustainability agreement is 2040. Okay, the law for this applies to just about every building on the Homewood campus. It's for any building over 35,000 square feet, and that is the majority of those buildings. So basically, we know that there are penalties for this. We think it's the right thing to do, obviously, and we're full on to make this happen. Most of our buildings today are fossil fuel heated and cooled, so it is a big change for us, and we are going to have to bring more electricity to do that. What is a duct bank? I think most of us know here is underground cable management system that's virtually just about every city street in the city of Baltimore. It transfers electricity to from a substation, the one on 23rd Street in this case, to a localized substation on our campus. And again, why we need this, because for the first time in 30 years, we've brought new electrical power. We're facing new demands now, primarily because of the need to decarbonize and to power our buildings. The dates of this work and the impact, the work is anticipated to begin in the spring of 2026. It will take about 12 to 14 months to complete. Work will be done in segments of 1 block to 3 blocks. We're going to have 2 crews that are doing the work. We're going to show you the schedule in just a minute. Again, this only happens between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., the steel plates are put over the trenching. The roads are reopened. The parking is reopened. So rush hour in the morning and rush hour in the evening is not affected. That little map that's on the right shows the path of the duct bank from 23rd Street to the JHU Homewood campus. This little map shows the sequence of the work. And again, to expedite this and reduce the inconvenience to anybody, we've actually going to have 2 crews that are going to work on this, an A team and a B team. This shows where the work will happen. The A team will start on 31st Street near our campus. The B team will do the largest segment of the work starting again in May. That's between 25th Street and 28th Street on Howard Street. Then the A team will move to the south side of their responsibility and finish the block between 28th Street and 29th Street. The B team will move towards the substation at 23rd Street, and then the work will all be completed by January of 2027 or March of 2027 for specific work. One thing of note here, you'll notice the little boxes that are on the diagram. There are 2 intersections where we are going to provide the bump outs that DOT requires through complete streets that basically block cars from parking close to the intersection, so you, a pedestrian, can safely see cars coming to cross the intersection. We will have the ADA compliant ramps built into that bump out. And we're going to do that work in the cold weather because there are establishments that are there today that have outdoor dining. We want to make sure we don't disturb their business revenue during the summer. So again, November through January, February, not too many people want to sit outside and dine. So we'll do that work then. Just a little bit about this, the substation that's on our campus, which is not part of DA 1954A. The permit for that was received on March 12th earlier this year, and that will begin soon. That'll take about 12 months to complete. So basically, this building is on the 31st Street side of our campus. It's about 110 feet away from the face of the row houses across the street. This building has low maintenance requirements, not a lot of trucks, basic servicing by BGE every now and then from the back side of the building on the Hopkins campus. So this is put here so there's minimal disturbance to the neighborhoods. And just one note about the duct bank itself. The amount of volts that this duct bank will deliver to that substation is 13,200 volts. That is exactly the same as what's in the duct bank today that serves the neighborhood on both sides of Howard Street. So there's no increase in voltage at all with this duct bank. The intersection improvements, again, the bump outs that come out to make a safer pedestrian crossing at 27th Street. The same is true at Howard Street. We're also going to repaint the crosswalks, again, just to make it a cleaner, safer environment at those intersections. And as I said before, we will transfer ownership of the duct bank to the City of Baltimore, and the wire and the conduit inside the duct bank will be transferred to BGE. This basically takes the Homewood campus off the electrical service that serves the neighborhoods. The city streets, of course, we're obviously going to repave the streets when we trench. The duct bank, let me just say, is not going to be a straight run. It has to work around the existing duct bank that's there today to serve the neighborhood, as well as all the utilities that are in the street. So it'll sometimes be in the middle of the road in the travel lanes. It'll sometimes be in the parking to dodge what's there today. And that's why we'll have flaggers and appropriate signage to direct that traffic during the construction. And as I mentioned before, we will be providing the new ADA compliant curbs at those 2 intersections, 24th Street and 27th Street. Support for the neighbors, we basically have notified the public through the BCNR. That was a public notice that this work would be planned. This was notified. They were notified in September 25. And when we start this work, as we're going to go block by block, as I showed in that diagram, we will certainly let everyone, property owners, businesses, and residents know the work is coming a couple weeks in advance of when it starts. We are looking at finding alternative parking solutions for residences and the businesses. And as we've said before, with this contract, this is also under Whiting Turner Mahogany's contract. No construction workers will be permitted to park in the neighborhood. They'll have to go to East Baltimore and take the shuttle to the neighborhood. And again, we're trying to minimize the disruption to the businesses. As far as community messaging, we did speak to Councilmember Ramos on January 29th about this project. We had a meeting scheduled for yesterday, but at her request, we're rescheduling that meeting for next week. We basically, the 2nd, provided a project briefing to Councilmember Jones. On the 3rd, we met with Seawall to give them a heads up on this simply because they are a major property owner along that route. on February 3rd. We also presented to the Charles Village Civic Association Land Use Committee to let them know of the coming construction. On February 18th, we presented in person to the Greater Remington Improvements Association. And on March 2nd, we held a town hall community meeting that allowed us to explain the work to all the communities in the surrounding area. And on March 20th, several of my colleagues actually met with the owner of Suite 27 just to explain the process to him. And that is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you. I have a few questions that I'll start with. You kind of talked a little bit about how you... Oh, I'm sorry. You've kind of talked a little bit about how some ways you have reached out to residential neighbors. Is there anything else you want to add, or do you want to, I guess, kind of explain some of your added efforts that you've used to reach out to residents about this project?
Okay, sure.
Because we know that there is some opposition. so-
Sure. So again, we have made, that are still on the slide, the gestures that are shown here as far as providing the information. And, there are some ongoing efforts. Number one, we're still looking for how we can supply parking for residences in addition to what's on city streets today. That was. And we're working on that still, and we'll keep the residents abreast of that information. And again, before anything starts on that particular block, we certainly are going to let people know that live on that particular block or have a business on that block. The work is coming and will be, several weeks away. So we'll continually give them updates on our progress. I mean, as anything in construction, these are the proposed times that we expect to get this work done. Anything in construction can be impacted by weather, especially. So this is the schedule we hope to have this work done, but we will continue to update them on a regular basis. And our website will continue to provide information also.
And how did you decide on the daytime hours versus, nighttime hours?
That basically complies with what DOT would like for us
Okay.
to do for when we close streets. We do not close streets during rush hour, so that 6-hour window is the time that's acceptable. It minimizes the disruption. So that's where the 6 hours came from.
And what are the minority and women-owned subcontracting goals on this project?
So for this particular project, this is no different from any other project that we have going on campus. We have local business development. We have an overriding goal right now of 8% of the overall contract value for local businesses. As you know, we are basically like many institutions facing scrutiny by the federal government about how contracts are issued, but we're holding firm to that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Comptroller?
Thank you. I'm going to start off with a softball. That picture of the computer from 1988.
You want that back?
Was that from the Milton S. Eisenhower Library?
It actually might have been, and I'll just tell you, we actually had a bunch of pictures. We were trying to figure out which was the best one. And I think you're absolutely right about that. Because,
I'm pretty sure I used that computer.
That would be the only building that probably had computers in 1988. So my guess is you're correct about that.
The electrical engineering department will argue with you because that's where computer engineering used to be. There were some people down there doing stuff that they didn't talk to the rest of us about. In the picture where you show the substation that you're going to be building on the Hopkins campus, the new Hopkins substation.
Yes.
I noticed that it appears to only be 1 story tall.
Correct.
Are there prohibitions against building on top of a substation?
I can't say if there's a prohibition on building on top of a substation. I mean, first of all, the building is not structured for that. I'll just say that. We're not going to build a foundation or a structure.
This is just a pretty brick wall around electrical equipment. It's not
correct.
meant to ever support anything above it.
No.
Okay.
No, but BGE, I will say this, BGE does have certain restrictions on what you can build and where you can build the substation and where you can build electrical vaults and anything with any building that we have to follow, so they will service it.
It was more just along lines of, was this ever going to be something where Hopkins was going to come back in the future and say, now we'd like to build on top
No,
of it.
no,
Okay.
we can't.
You mentioned both in the presentation and then again in answering the Vice President's questions that you're exploring parking options for local residents. So have you found any?
That is an ongoing conversation, and I really am not at liberty to explain what our communications are right now with those that may be able to make the parking available.
Okay. One of the questions I had been asked was, have there been conversations with DOT about removing any existing parking restrictions in the area on a temporary basis to free up parking?
I do not believe we've had those conversations, but obviously that is an option.
Okay. And you're open to having that conversation?
Yes, absolutely.
It said on here, you met with the owner of Suite 27. How'd that go?
So I wasn't there that day. I was out of town, but I think everyone who went got dessert.
Best gluten-free desserts in the
I've
area.
heard it
yeah.
was a very
Yeah.
positive experience. And again, we're very interested in making sure we're not, prohibiting businesses from thriving. So working out a way that we can be out of their way during those summer hours is key for them. So we're going to do that.
Okay. I think that's all I have for Hopkins. I do have a question for DOT when,
Okay. Yes.
Just on the parking issue, will we have that resolved before the certain either A or B starts in their designated blocks? And
That
will we
is
be
the
able to
goal.
communicate that to the public before it starts?
That is the goal.
Okay, all right. And then, just so that it may just be an educational lesson for me, in terms of you're saying the power, it's not going to be any more, it's not going to pull from the grid any more than it is, and then it's eventually going to be off of the grid from the other, because the concern that we keep hearing is
Yeah.
that it's going to pull more power away and cause more outages for the residents that are there. So if you could explain,
Yeah.
if you're adding more, how is it actually helpful or beneficial to the
Okay.
residents? I think that would help them.
Sure, no, happy to. So it's not an issue of basically pulling more power off the residences. Basically, the substation on 23rd Street that BG owns has an amount of power. This is simply taking what goes in the existing duct bank that serves both the community and the Hopkins campus and separating those. So there's no reduction of power, okay, available for the community. This is just a direct line that goes from that substation to Hopkins that, quite frankly, bypasses the community. So it's not an issue of, basically taking anything away. The amount of power, and I have to admit, I can't speak to the amount of power, the capacity of the substation.
Right.
That's really the issue, how much power BGE has delivered to that substation to distribute, but it's certainly not going to take anything away from the community.
So would it be fair, once the project is complete, to say that that you are less invasive on their grid, on the community side, or has it always been separate? Like, is it now that you are sharing, and then that now it would be separate? So would it be fair to say that now you aren't a burden on the community's line after this is done, or is that not true?
I would not characterize it that way. I will
Okay.
clarify that yes, it separates the power supply from the substation that goes to the community from Hopkins, but I don't know of any issue where there was ever, less power than needed simply because they were both on the same. I don't know the answer to that, but it does separate them. So it's a non-issue if Hopkins has an issue and the community can still keep going.
Okay, those are my only concerns, Madam VP.
Thank you, City Solicitor. And the Comptroller has a follow-up.
Well, as is so often the case, the solicitor's line of inquiry caused me to think of something else. Along the lines, no. No, I think it's an important issue to
Discussion.
raise. You mentioned in the presentation that you will be drawing more power over the next several years as Hopkins works to come into compliance with the state requirements
Correct.
to do more electrification
Yeah.
and reduce your emissions and reduce your reliance on fossil fuel.
Okay.
So I just want to confirm that the duct bank that's being added now, that is also to allow you access for those improvements in the coming years, and you won't have to do anything else exterior to the campus in order to prepare and allow for the campus to have less reliance on fossil fuels.
Okay. So I can answer that question, and unfortunately, I can't say that simply because of this. We don't take power, or any institution doesn't take power from one source. There needs to be something of redundancy. So as we continue to work towards that goal of 2045 for the state and that goal of 2040 for us, there'll be multiple initiatives to take buildings off of fossil fuel. But there will likely be, okay, as we continue working towards that.
The need to do this from
the need
another
to do this from
substation.
another several locations to bring this. And this is not just Hopkins. I mean, given the fact that any building that's going to go from fossil fuel to electrification is going to require more power, this honestly is going to be a phenomenon that's going to be all over the city for people to get more power to meet that goal.
Well, fortunately, our state representatives are done with session now, so they'll be available for these questions as communities continue to have them. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank
you.
you. Any other questions from board members?
Madam Chair, Madam
Yes.
President. A question I just have, the line that's going to be underground, is that a high voltage line or?
No.
Okay,
No, it's-
so,
It's what's considered by engineers to be a medium voltage line. It's
Okay.
13,200 volts.
okay,
You know, it's not like the high transmission lines that you see, you know, that are crisscrossing the country that you hear so much about today.
so any concern with the temperature of the ground raising? I know we've had issues with underground, there overheats with some of our duct banks and all.
So that's one of the reasons you don't put these super high voltage lines underground, because they will overheat
Yeah,
and they'll
exactly.
fry everything around them, quite
Yeah.
frankly. So there's a limit about what you can do without special construction. This is not doing that.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I should disconnect the.
Madam Chair, I know
Yeah.
there are a couple of folks who are here in opposition. I'd like to have the opportunity to respond if there are any issues raised by the opposition.
Yes, of course. Okay.
And we are going to
As-
hear from DOT, yeah.
Oh, yes. And we're going to have Department of Transportation come up next.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you're on.
We don't have anything else to add. I believe the comptroller had a question, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I just.
Yes, Comptroller.
Thank you. I just wanted to get a sense of how did DOT, like, the Hopkins talked about how Hopkins worked with the community around this ahead of time. How did DOT work with the community to ensure that this agreement worked with any existing plans?
So we, it's on the developers to communicate with the community. We did realize that there was a conflict late in the process, so we're working through that with.
The paving of Wyman Parkway?
Yep,
Yeah.
and we're making sure that that is
Because
done.
that was the issue I really wanted to find. It's like, why did we get that close to repaving a street that was about to get dug up?
Yeah, we're still exploring that, and we're looking, we'll be making the appropriate needed changes to ensure that that happens. I don't want to say will never happen again, but is highly unlikely to happen in the future.
Okay. I know the city administrator is still in the room, so we'll follow up on this offline.
Mr. Mayor.
So, Mr. Comptroller, what I'll say to be brief is that what you just said, both the city administrator, myself, and the deputy mayor have all said, and we weren't as nice as you were, because we know that we've been talking about this and we've gotten a lot better, but I'll see you after the meeting anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Comptroller, for that question. And that's a really good question, not just about this project, but about our overall coordination with our utility partners. And so you saw in the Mayor's State of the City, he talked about Repave Baltimore. Well, what we're trying to do with Repave Baltimore is just reimagine our entire resurfacing program. And a big piece of that is coordination with the utilities. So we're also trying to do this, what we call One Dig initiative. I was just talking to the councilwoman, and she reminded me that was actually a BG&E project. And so when we account for, so I think this year we're doing 90 is it 90 lane miles of resurfacing, around about 80, between 80 and 90 miles this paving season. DPW on their own, they do about 30 or 40 miles. Then when you look at lane miles, then you look at BG&E, right? And that's another 40 plus miles. So we're actually getting quite a bit of resurfacing done when you account for all the work that our utility partners are doing, especially now that they have to go curb to curb. But what we have to do is a better job, exactly, accounting for that and coordinating and doing what we call one dig. That means if we're on Wyman Parkway, we're doing it one time, not multiple times. So it's an active work in progress, but it's a part of the work that we're doing around Repave Baltimore.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. As we have discussed, the board has received over 30 statements of opposition to this item for the public. We have noted each, and they are all published on the Board of Estimates website. 2 of those statements of opposition came into the clerk prior to the board's deadline to provide oral testimony on the opposition. First, I will call on Ms. Joan Floyd to provide her statement of opposition. Ms. Floyd, if you are, and you are present, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Is Hillary the other one? Because she told me she was unable to speak today.
I
Who's
didn't,
the other person who made it?
yes.
I believe she may have communicated that with you. Okay, well, first of all, I heard a lot of things that I've never heard before, so I need to, I want to try to address a couple things before I go into mine. First of all, we're talking Wyman Parkway or Wyman Park Drive? Because what I saw on I believe I saw Wyman Park Drive listed on the item.
I may have misspoken.
Well, we've had a couple of people say Wyman Parkway, so, and the councilwoman's here, so. Well, Wyman Parkway is not what's listed on the developer's agreement item I'm pretty sure. This is sort of a point of confusion for me right now.
I'll have them respond.
I'm not sure if the Wyman Parkway folks, I don't know what they know about this, if it's been described as Wyman Park Drive.
I'll have them respond when you're
Okay,
completed.
because there's a whole lot of houses on Wyman Parkway and no houses on that particular block of Wyman Park Drive. Okay. Another thing I heard was daytime parking or daytime disruption. That happens to be Area 7 of the RPP. I don't know anybody's talked to. I'm pretty sure they haven't talked to our community rep for Area 7 RPP, because that will then affect the whole parking situation for the permit holders. Just an added note. But I think it's a matter of public record. The DSAI is going to greatly increase the energy needs of Hopkins University. And I think it's a little strange, frankly, that it wasn't mentioned here today, that is a big new power draw that the university is planning and is trying to build. And also it comes as no surprise to you all that it's a very highly opposed project for many different reasons, and that and I know you've got lots of letters from people, and everybody has their own reasons. I wrote in particular with respect to this item, I am on Howard Street, 2800 block of Howard Street, and of course we've just been repaved, this will obviously be coming up. It's going all the way from 23rd Street to 31st Street. It sounds like a very lengthy project. I was not able to go to a March 2nd virtual meeting, but I understand that one of the concerns that came out of that meeting was this issue of the substation. And this is what I'm going to focus on right now, because there were concerns expressed at the time that by residents, that the substation is something that needs zoning board approval. It's a land use. It's basically the terminus of this whole project is the substation on 31st Street. And that the substation needs zoning board approval. And of course, zoning board approval has not been obtained, nor I believe has it been sought. And the Hopkins University was unresponsive to those concerns. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there were some residents who wrote into zoning authorities about that as well, and I'm not sure they were responsive either. So that is why I wrote in my letter, I was not aware of any permit issuance, okay? We were not made aware of that. And in my letter, I wrote that I thought the cart was being put before the horse because you were talking about letting, Hopkins dredge, trench out the street from 23rd to 31st before the legal approval of the substation was obtained, and that the process had a community, input opportunity and requirement for that approval to be obtained. So that is why I'm here today, because of that issue. I'm hearing for the first time that a permit was issued. City sometimes issues permits improperly. It happens. Sometimes it happens and it takes 6 years to iron it out. I've seen that happen as well. So that's just basically what I'm here to say today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask, I know Caroline Hecker, you wanted to come back up and address some of these things that were mentioned. Oh, Councilwoman Ramos, you would like to come up and speak? Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I apologize for not getting my request to speak in ahead of time, and I do appreciate the opportunity. I did have to move the meeting I had with Hopkins yesterday because I had a hearing on the on the payment plans. As you all know, that's a number one importance right now. So but I will be rescheduling it. I just wanted to make sure that the board asked some very specific questions to Hopkins, which I would have also asked them. The presentation to you today was based on having more power for, greening the campus, which I fully support. However, when you look at the BOE agenda item, it says it's more power to the DSAI building. And as you know, I think it's a data center. They don't think it's a data center. But I think that's worthy of question in terms of transparency and in terms of understanding what exactly we're doing here. So that's going to be one of my questions. The other is that the construction already on the DSAI has been extremely disruptive, and I really appreciate the Johns Hopkins looking at making sure that the construction workers aren't parking in the area, but the traffic is insane. The traffic pattern for the trucks can't turn properly because they're not coming from the right direction. It's really just been totally disruptive. So adding the DSAI piece to basically retrenching the entire neighborhood is really going to be disruptive, and I would ask that, and I will ask them as well, for some kind of concession, some kind of benefit, something that they are going to give to the community in exchange, because that has not been spelled out, and because of this huge disruption that our residents are going through, both in the 14th district and in parts of the 12th district where this will go. So I think that's extremely important. And last, I do think that I appreciate the outreach that Hopkins has done. There's one group of people that has not had a presentation given to them, and that's the South Wyman Park neighbors who are directly impacted by the DSAI, both on 31st Street, West 31st Street, and on Remington. So I would request that occur, the lack of transparency to that group of people, because they are the most opposed to the project, there still needs to be dialogue. And lastly, there were a lot of promises in the last hearing that we had related to making sure that the traffic calming was taken care of and all of that. And I will say DOT has been very good about accomplishing some of it. We have more to go. And I would ask the board to make sure that all of these things that we have asked for the community to accommodate this monstrosity of a building, make sure that those get taken care of both by Hopkins and by DOT and others that are supposed to be doing all of that work. So I'm just asking for your help in terms of asking the questions around transparency, making sure that all groups and stakeholders are being consulted, and making sure that, we're really, the board is approving something that you actually know what's happening. If they're greening the campus, let's green the campus. If they're, putting more power into their data center, then that's what they're doing. And the confusion is pretty palpable here. And again, I think, and I will meet with them, and I've been open to doing that. I just couldn't do it yesterday. But these are the same types of questions that I would be asking them. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak and take my thoughts into consideration.
Thank you for your testimony, well noted, and I think we do have a few questions. I'll start with the comptroller.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning.
Morning.
You raise an excellent point in that community engagement is often about gathering input for a project that could happen in a number of ways and trying to find the way in which it's least impactful and working with residents on that. But I'm definitely getting the feel that a lot of the community engagement for this was really more community notification.
That's correct.
That this project is going to happen in this way.
That's right.
And there really isn't anything that can be done to alter or change the level of negative impact, which was why I asked the question about how did the meeting with the owner of Suite 27 go? Like, did the owner ask for anything that would offset the negative impact of losing parking and, the number of people who are now not going to be, oh, hey, look, it's Suite 27, let's pull over and get something. Like, that's not going to happen,
Right.
and that's going to have a measurable impact on business for a period of time. Like, what can be done to make up for that? And you're saying you've not gotten any type of...
I don't know whether the owner of Suite 27 asked. I do know that there's going to be some disruption to their outdoor dining, which I believe there's dialogue about that piece, but not necessarily about, for instance, compensation for lack of business during this period. So those are some of the questions that I'll be asking as well. And there are other businesses that are going to be impacted, as well as the residents.
And just to be clear, that compensation doesn't need to be cash. Like, it's not like saying that you need to pay people for this, but like just
Right, it would set a precedent that
would probably not be a good idea. But just spitballing, like if Suite 27 had the future opportunity to, sell goods on the Hopkins campus to make up for the loss of business that they have at their own shop during this time because of something that Hopkins needs to do. Like, that's the kind of sort of like outside the box conversation that I was hoping was happening behind the scenes, but it doesn't sound like it is.
Again, I'm not.
Okay. There will be an opportunity.
I'm sure that they'll be able to
Okay.
tell you what that conversation was about. I haven't had a chance to circle back to Suite 27 on that, and I know Councilman Jones and I are trying to, make sure that we're all informed about what those impacts are gonna be, and so we'll, continue to follow up.
Any more questions? Hearing none, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
thanks
for
a
your
lot. Really
testimony.
appreciate it. Thank you.
And on that note, Caroline, did you all want to come up? And I'm just going to run down some topics so you'll know how to touch those. And also, you might want to respond to some of the dialogue that Councilwoman Ramos had talked about. But I think the first thing at the beginning, Ms. Floyd had mentioned about the street name, Area 7. She specifically was talking about some...
Is it Wyman Park Drive or Wyman Parkway?
Yes.
It's Wyman Parkway.
Okay, we're well noted, it's Wyman Parkway. She had also talked about some things on the substation. And then we just recently heard Councilwoman Ramos's discussion about really some strong partnerships with some businesses that are going to be affected. So I'll give you a chance just kind of to address all of those things, I guess.
Perfect. I'll start with the substation, and then I'll turn it over to Jennifer Melke, who's the Hopkins Director of Government Affairs, to talk about the engagement with the property owners and communities around.
Sure, of course.
On the substation, I mean, first of all, the Board of Estimates is not the proper forum to be bringing a zoning issue, contesting whether zoning board approval is required for the substation. But more importantly, the city issued a permit for the substation on March 12th. The zoning administrator reviewed the application, determined that a BMZA hearing was not required. There is an existing substation there. It's being modified. This is not something that triggers zoning board approval, as the zoning administrator properly found in issuing the permit over a month ago, and no one has challenged the issuance of the permit in a timely manner. This is not an appropriate forum to try to lately, challenge the issue of a permit. I'll turn it over to you to talk about.
If we're going to, can I respond?
Yes,
Please.
go ahead.
Okay.
Mr. Comptroller.
So I'm only going to push back a little bit on this because I agree with you that in this case, because that issue had already been resolved, it is not necessary to raise that issue here. But in general, if there was a situation where it was going to require zoning board approval and that hadn't happened yet, I can see that being a legitimate issue to raise here of why would we do the agreement before the zoning board had ruled on the matter.
Well, yes and no, because, I mean, as a practical matter, the substation's not part of the developer's agreement. It's on private property. It's not in the city right-of-way, which is what the developer's agreement covers. And the developer who's doing the project in this hypothetical situation, they're not going to spend the money to install the duct bank
Until they have the approval.
until they have the zoning approval.
So it's probably a moot situation.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair.
Thank you. Hello, Jennifer. Recognize
I always just,
yourself.
I have to be careful not to let people go on the record saying we shouldn't be taking up stuff, or should. Yeah, okay.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Melke. I'm the Director of Baltimore City Government Community Affairs for Johns Hopkins University in Medicine. That was a mouthful. To answer the question of how we're working with businesses, as we mentioned in the presentation, we did meet with Seawall because they are major property owners. So Cafe de Leon, there's some other businesses. So we wanted to put on their radar, like we want to sit down with you, and then if you can make introductions, at least for their tenants, how we can, talk about in depth about the schedule of the disturbance and what their needs are. As it relates to the owner of Suite 27, I was in that meeting, and we brought my colleagues from Hopkins Local. So we are wrapping around Hopkins Local and trying to figure out how we can make sure that these businesses are in a vendor, and so to the extent that there are opportunities for offices and divisions within Hopkins, they can do catering business. We specifically had that conversation with him. He was very interested in that. We also know, just in trying to get, not just in that moment when he's under construction, but how we can figure out how to sustain, during, before, during, and after. Some of the things that he did talk about, he was really worried about the parking for his employees. He has about 8 employees, so again, we're exploring options, something that's not too far, that we'd be able to, provide to his clients or his employees. Certainly, we know the outside businesses there. I know we've been talking a little bit with GRIA. I think they have some ideas about once that area is done, they'll probably work with the owner of Suite 27 about what that new dining experience can be redone. So again, the shorter answer is we understand, and we don't want to understand the value of these businesses, and we don't want to make sure that they're not losing any business. And so we are, engaging and working with our Hopkins local partners on how we can, spotlight businesses through promotions, using our own catering. And then certainly Whiting Turner Mahogany, they get regular lunches, so they're, going to be building that into, on Fridays, I believe, having lunches from different restaurants.
Has it been discussed to allow neighbors to park on campus on evenings and weekends?
That's something that was one of the options. I mean, similar, for DSAI, the project. I mean, we have 16 residents from Remington and Wyman Park Drive who have passes to our garage. We offer that. And so when we get to the scheduling, so Wyman Parkway, if there might be an option that those residents on Wyman Parkway would be able to, during construction, temporarily park in our garage.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from members of the board? Thank you.
Oh, you bet. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from, I think the second person was Hillary Gonzalez, who we understand is attending virtually on the WebEx platform. Ms. Gonzalez, if you are available, can you come off mute and provide your testimony?
Madam VP, she's not on the participants list. She'll not be here today.
Okay, she will not be here. Any other comments or questions about this particular issue from the board? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approving this item, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say
Abstain.
nay. We have an abstention, and this item is approved. Okay. This next item on the non-routine agenda is from the Department of Audits under SB 26-11009. This is a request for this board to note the biannual performance audit follow-up of the Baltimore City Fire Department, which covered fiscal years ending June 30th, 2024 and June 30th, 2023. On behalf of audits, we have Audits Director Josh Pash. Director Pash, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Oh, wow. The presentation went up the first time.
Well, the mayor's here.
Good morning, Madam Vice President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller, honorable members. My name is Josh Pash, and I am here to present the biannual performance audit, follow-up audit for Baltimore City Fire Department. Next slide. I will go over our audit objective and scope, the results of our findings, our audit methodology, some background information, and the implementation status of the prior findings. Next slide. Our objective was to determine the implementation status of management action plans from the prior recommendations. There are multiple audits that we did a follow-up, which I will list soon. And we looked at fiscal years 24 and 23. For some of them, we extended to March of 2026 to get current information. Okay. For our findings, we had 4 findings. Prior findings, and 1 was implemented, 2 were partially implemented, and 1 was not implemented. Next slide. Okay, so the follow-up audits that we followed upon, there were 3 reports. We had 4 findings across those reports. The first report was the fire department use and occupancy and annual fire permits audit. The audit objective of that audit was looking at the permit review process for use and occupancy and for the inspection processes and the efficiency of the process. While we're doing the audit, we noted that the annual fire inspection permit process was very similar and tied in, so we extended the scope to include that. This is the first time we are following up on that report. The next report was the Fire Department Fire Watch Program. The prior objective, was to review the policies and procedures used to administer and operate the Fire Watch programs. There was a follow-up set for calendar year 2024, but when we got out there and communicated with them, the Special Events Division responsible for this was unaware of the prior audit findings, and so we deferred the follow-up to now. And the next prior audit was the Fire Department's COOP Performance Measure Audit, and this is no longer in the budget book. However, due to the importance of the continuing of operations plan to the city, we continue to follow up. And the original one was looking at the performance measures, the accuracy of those, and the processing controls around them. We followed up in 2019, 2021, and in 2024. For that, we looked at the processes and controls that MOEM has over this process. Okay, our audit methodology. So we met with the Department of Housing Community Development and the Office of the Fire Marshal for an overview of the Acela permitting system. That is the new system used to track use and occupancy permit applications, in addition to other applications, but we were focused on use and occupancy. That was related to the permits audit. We reviewed the following manuals: OFM, assigning use and occupancy inspection, annual fire inspections, and also the OFM Marshal policy for fire watch procedures. For the fire watch program audit, we conducted walkthroughs to meet walkthrough meetings to obtain an understanding of the procedures for billing, recording invoices and payment transactions, monitoring accounts receivable, and then also validating payment deposits for special events and Fire 3 watches. We judgmentally selected 15 Fire Watch Level 1 and Level 2 events to confirm whether the OFM retains the signed fire prevention notices, and I will talk about that a little bit later. And then we reviewed the draft Mayor's Office of Emergency Management, their standard operating procedures related to the COOP plan. And then we conducted meetings and walkthroughs with fire departments and MOEM to ascertain the status of the actions taken by the fire department and MOEM regarding the previous audit recommendations. We reviewed the COOP submitted by required agencies. We obtained and reviewed the City of Baltimore COOP evaluation forms done by Office of Emergency Management. And then we also reviewed the data and supporting documentation for meetings that MOE holds with the agencies. Next slide. Okay. So I'm going to focus on column 1, which is the finding from the prior audit, not this audit, and column 4, which is our assessment of the current status of that. So we noted in the prior audit that the fire department does not monitor milestones and critical tasks of the fire permit issuance process for both annual and UNO fire inspection permits. We noted that there's no benchmarks to compare the actual time it takes to complete an inspection to the benchmark, which doesn't exist, and that the fire department is unable to identify causes of delays for those permits. And then looking at the underlying data that would and could be used to do that analysis, that it is insufficient. We were unable to analyze the data when we reviewed it as it was spread over 3 systems. The Acela system was implemented in 2025, and that falls under the Department of DHCD. And inspections that are requested that include use and occupancy inspections come through that system, and the fire department gets notified. Those are assigned to inspectors, and the goal there of the fire department is to assign an inspection to the officers within 7 days after the intake. However, that part is not tracked in the Acela system or the fire department internal system, and is also not manually tracked into a third tracker. And just to note, again, that the Acela system was the key management action plan in addressing the finding. We did note that annual inspections are tracked in the mainframe 3270 system, and that inspections, both the initial and the follow-up, and the issuance dates are tracked in a fire records management third system. So, as I mentioned before, we obtained the data and tried to reconcile them. Basically, to know the efficiency and to identify causes of delays, you have to join data from these 3 systems. Okay, the auditor's assessment. Okay, even though, and we did note that the fire department implemented the OFM policy manual for assigning use and occupancy inspections and annual fire inspections, and in that manual they did establish guidelines and procedures for assigning the UNO and fire inspections. The manual did not establish turnaround times for key tasks, except for the original assigning the inspection, and they do not track dates for key tasks or monitor the efficiency and or causes of delays. And then we plan to follow up on this in the next audit. Next slide. Okay, the second finding related to the Firewatch audit. The OFM does not have adequate accounting and financial controls, such as segregation of duties, validation of incoming payments, monitoring accounts receivable, that would ensure billing and payment information is accurately recorded, and they cannot ensure payments for all invoices are received. Again, this is the finding from the prior audit. In column 4 is our current assessment. It was partially implemented. The fire department does now segregate the duties, and so that takes care of that part of the finding. We did make one recommendation, an added step to further strengthen the controls, but that was a side recommendation, and that part was implemented. We did note that they did not establish and implemented formal policies and procedures for these processes. So the informal processes are occurring, but they're not formalized, which is very important for succession planning, turnover, transfers, et cetera. Next slide. The second finding under the Firewatch audit, the OFM uses an Excel spreadsheet to track fire level 3 Firewatch activities, but they don't track level 1 and level 2. They do not retain supporting documentation for these fire level 1 and 2, such as daily logs, citations, and work orders are not retained after 30 days. We also noted that they do not have formal policies and procedures to require level 1, 2, and 3 Firewatch services, maintain the key documentation, and establish retention periods for these documents. Again, this is the prior finding. Our current assessment is partially implemented. They did put together policy procedures requiring the recording, documenting, and retention for all level 1, 2, and 3 Firewatch services. However, this is not being consistently applied and followed. We did note that they are now tracking level 1 and level 2 Firewatches. However, the supporting documentation for those Firewatches was not always maintained. We looked at 15 samples, and they were unable to provide prevention notices for 9 or 60%. Next slide. Okay. For the finding regarding the COOP plan. As I mentioned, the budget book this is no longer in the budget book, so the prior objective was looking at those budget book reports and basically validating the accuracy of those. Since it's no longer in the budget book, we looked at the policy procedures and controls that MOEM has in their role in this process. So the audit assessment was this is fully implemented. They began a new process requiring all agencies that are required to submit it by July of 2025. They created a template directing the agencies and guiding the agencies to what should be in the COOP plan. And they also developed a rubric, an evaluation form that MOEM uses to assess the COOPs submitted by the agencies. And then if the agencies are missing key components, they go back to the agency to get it updated. Next slide. So we noted there's 18 agencies required to submit a COOP. Currently, they have 15 submissions, and the other 3 were granted extensions. We looked into the 15 agencies, and they had done the assessment for 12 or 80%. In addition to that, as an additional control and communication, the MOEM has quarterly meetings with all the required agencies to discuss topics related to the COOP, address any questions or concerns, and also to follow up on anything that's outstanding. So as a result of the feedback and tools provided to the agencies by MOEM and the contents and the participation of the agencies for the COOPs have significantly improved. And I will take any questions.
Thank you, Auditor Pash, for another important audit. So I have a couple questions for you, and then the board I will probably have some questions. And then I also have a couple questions for the fire department. 2 of the recommendations you examined were only partially implemented. Why were these 2 recommendations only partially implemented? That's for the fire department?
That's for the fire department.
Gotcha.
As it's
I'll
not
just,
implemented at all.
right. You had also talked about the fire watch manual isn't always being followed.
Yes.
Could you explain that a little?
Sure. Okay, so they partially implemented, so there was two key components for finding two. One was the segregation of duties, which was controlling the aspects, making sure there were controls over the sending invoices, the collection of invoices, et cetera. They had put that in place. So there is a control structure around that billing and collection process. We've noted in the city many times is that when you have employee turnover, this stuff can get lost. So the not implemented portion is documenting, formalizing that. So for succession planning, anyone else takes over that role, it's right there, and they can easily jump in and continue the current practices.
Okay, thank you.
The-
Any other? I'm sorry. Go
That's okay. You asked three
Okay,
questions.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
The next one, well, actually two questions in here. So was finding three, and they put together the policy for recording the level 1, 2, and 3 Firewatch services. So the policy's there. It includes what needs to be tracked. It includes the documentation that needs to be included. So during our tests, we look, are you tracking and monitoring it? They were doing that, and then we said, okay, do you have supporting documentation of those notices? And so those, they had some, but not all of them, and that led to a partially implemented assessment.
Thank you. Thank you, and no further questions for you from the board. Will, could the fire department come up? We have a couple questions. And I guess we'll start with that one about, oh, yes, after you introduce yourself, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Mayor and the Honorable Board. I'm Kensington White III, Executive Assistant Chief, Baltimore City Fire Department.
And do you have a presentation before
Yes, ma'am, I do have a
you
short
go right
presentation.
ahead with your presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the opportunity to respond back to the audit team's finding. First, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the audit team for their commitment and partnership in ensuring that we improve our customer service delivery. Next slide.
The slide's not up yet.
Slide that up.
What is the name before the slides?
Talk to the hand.
With me today, I do have Robert Hamlin III. He's our Deputy Chief Fire Marshal. He's newly appointed. The Office of the Fire Marshal did begin a leadership transition in June of 2025, ending with Chief Hamlin being appointed in August 13th of 2025. With his leadership, he does bring along with him focus on personnel alignment, policy development, as well as operational continuity. Focusing back in on the three topics of the annuals and UNOs, the billing, and the fire watch, we did take immediate corrective action after meeting with our partners in the audit team, and so I'll go through those corrective actions we've taken. Next slide. In finding one, we did immediately take and implement the corrective action in reference to annuals and UNOs surrounding the benchmarking of key tasks. So the policies were updated to standardize between the annuals and the UNOs, so we do have similarities for continuity there. They are memorialized in a policy, so we do have that completed. We did add in the benchmarkings for those turnaround times, as well as for the inspectors to be able to identify any bottlenecks in the process. That will give us the ability to proactively make adjustments on the fly as we see what those issues are. We did add in 2 review levels, so now the captain of the general inspections does review the previous 30 days inspections on annuals and UNOs, and then behind them, in addition to, we do have a quality assurance, quality improvement unit that does do a secondary look at those. Next slide. In finding 2, we look at the billing and the payment process that is in progress. I would like to clarify one thing. The Office of the Fire Marshal does not accept cash at any time. We only 2 forms of physical payment are going to be checks and money orders. That is underway with being led by our new Chief Financial Officer. We are billing special events and fire watches right out of Workday. She is looking to help integrate us into the Acela system for the billing and payment receivement there. And the ultimate goal here is for us to be able to accept, electronic payments for all of our transactions and any services that we deliver. Sure.
So you don't take credit cards?
No, no, sir.
Online.
Online, but just not at the counter.
Well, sorry, I don't mean. I was just asking this question too. So they are currently, so the fire marshal's office is currently working with BSIT to implement Paymentus like we use in all the other agencies. We don't currently have Paymentus, but we will be bringing that service online. But right now, there is an option through Workday for online payments.
Okay.
So.
So the use of the credit card clip art here, that's aspirational?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it is, I mean, we can do it online.
Do it online.
Yes, you can do it online through Workday. We're going to put it online through Paymentus, but they don't accept credit cards in person, only money orders and checks.
When we have Paymentus, I'm sorry. When we have Paymentus up and running for the fire department, will you be able to take credit cards at the desk?
Yes, I would say yes. You can just have that.
Okay. I'm just going to be upfront with you. Like, I'm looking at you because you're the one testifying, but I'm also looking at her because she's going to have the confident look on her face when she's nodding. Okay, gotcha. All
right. Rounding out with fire watches on finding 3, happy to say that has been implemented. So the gap here identified and revolved around adherence to the policy, going back to those 23, 24 fire watches. As I said, we did go through a leadership change there. So what we did immediately upon notification of that was to do an internal audit to identify those missing documents and get them into the fire records management system. So that way we can bring that all together. Going forward, we know that we have those documents, we have those policies in place, and they have been updated. The update to the policy does include 2 additional layers of oversight. So now when an inspector does put a business on fire watch, that documentation is then brought down to the Special Inspections Division. They're going to verify that all documentation is there, all documentation has been uploaded into the fire records management system, so that way we always have it going across legacy, not only just in hard copy, but in electronic form. That process also has a layer of monthly review through the QA/QR process as well. And then to help bring all that together, we do have a data analyst embedded inside the Office of the Fire Marshal to help with the policies and record management system there. So just in closing, I would just like to say that we do take these audits very seriously. We do take the findings very seriously. We did see those 3 findings. We have resolved 2 of them. 1 of them remains in progress. But I'm very happy with where that is in the progress. So I would just say thank you to the board, thank you to the audit team, thank you to Chief Hamlin and his team for getting on this right away. Baltimore City Fire Department, we do remain committed not only to our customer service, but to our quality improvement.
Thank you for that. I know the mayor has some questions. I just have one. Can you talk a little bit about any discussions that you've had with DHCD regarding the possibility of using that Excella system? Just talk a little bit about that. Has there been meetings or discussions yet about that system and how to proceed with your department using that?
Yeah, so we have had meetings with housing in reference to our integration into the Excella system. Right now, we are up and able to integrate in on the use and occupancies. The hurdle of annuals remains a talking point. We have to bring that information out of the 3270 system, which is controlled by BSIT, so legacy dot matrix data. They have to be integrated into the Excella system. So the conversation still remains. A formal solution has not been agreed upon yet.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Mayor?
No, thank you, and thank you, Chief. Thank you all for your diligent work to help bring the fire department out of the dark ages and into the new age technology. I think a couple of things to follow up on the comptroller's question. When do we expect us to have Paymentus available for you all?
We have our next meeting on the 23rd with BSIT.
Okay, great. So what's this? This is April. It feels like June, but it's April, so we'll say by July 1 we should have it. Fall? Okay. So y'all know how it works.
Fall.
So
Do I hear October?
No. They know that's not how it works with me. So by August the 1st, we will have paid maintenance. That's the new date, the deadline, August the 1st. There you go. That's how it works, Bill. And then secondly, to the council vice president's point, with same exact question, but for Acela. Have you all in PSID and housing figured out what's the timeline for the full implementation? Because we're at partial now. We need a timeline. Do we have one?
Yes, sir. We are being pretty intentional about the next phase of the implementation for Acela, given the very rocky rollout that we had this first time. We continue to meet through the permit ICS to talk about what the next phase of that work looks like, working directly with Acela, working with all of the partners within Acela as well. What we can commit to is that in, what is this, 2026? Before the end of 2026, we will make significant progress in getting the next phase of Acela rolled out in the right way.
Thank you for that. That's a big commitment there. Any other questions to the fire department? Go ahead, Comptroller.
Well, no, mine's not a question. So you want to
Okay. I was just a comment as well that, our city fire department is just so important and just very hard workers, and it's a lot that you do that's just recognized nationally, and we can't talk enough about the what are the things that you put, the smoke alarms we're still basically number one in doing that cause and having those free things installed. So to those that are listening, all you have to do is contact 311 and get an appointment, and you can get a free smoke detector. We don't advertise that enough.
Yeah, we come out within 2 hours once you call 311.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for that wonderful program. Comptroller.
Yeah, I just, thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to share, other agencies have heard this. You get a special shout out if in your presentation you answer all of the questions that I had that I was getting ready to ask the department. So you get that shout out because you answered all the questions. And I mean, I will say in an ideal world, the Department of Audits does these follow-ups and finds that everything has already been followed. But the next best thing that we can hope for is that there's a leadership transition inside the agency that allows for everything to get fixed going forward from here. And I appreciate that and want to thank you guys and congratulate you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, this item is now noted by the board. The next item on the routine agenda is also from the Department of Audits under SB 2611025. Is this?
Yes, it.
Oh, the same thing? Okay. And this is a request to note performance audit on Baltimore Development Corporation. On behalf of audits, we again have Director Posh. Director Posh, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Vice President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller, Ottawa board members. My name is Josh Pash, and I'm here to present the binding performance audit for the Baltimore Development Corporation. I want to start, since I admitted this last time, to thank the audit team BDC for their contributions. And I also want to retroactively thank the fire department, Office of Fire Marshal, and the MOEM. They were extremely helpful during this audit, and also to thank DHCD for their information that they provided. Next slide, please. Okay, so I will go over our audit objectives, the risks we identified, our audit methodology, background information, our findings and questions. This is a slightly different outline because this is the current year audit and the fire was a prior or follow-up audit. Next slide. So our audit objective and scope. One objective was to determine whether BDC met its performance measure targets as reported in the budget book, and then to evaluate whether they have adequately designed internal controls for the selected performance measures. The performance measures selected were the number of total new and expanding businesses in the commercial corridors, and then the private investment leverage through BDC. We looked at years 24 and 23 for the total new and expanding businesses in commercial corridors, and we looked at only 2024 for private investment leverage because there was a significant change in their methodology, and we only looked at the current methodology. Next slide. So I want to start off by noting some positive things that BDC did, and I'll also note it because it was a result of our audit. So in prior fiscal years, BDC relied on the retail business district license data to report new and expanding businesses. This is an independent metric of those. Some of those are related to BDC actions, some of them are not. So in our 2022 audit, based on that recommendation, they worked with BBMR to improve transparency and reporting. And in 2024, they transitioned to report new and expanding businesses from the commercial district assessment that is specifically related to assistance from BDC. Therefore, their metric is reporting based on the value provided by BDC. Next slide. Okay, so our audit methodology. We interviewed key individuals from BDC. We conducted walkthroughs to get an understanding of the processes and the controls, specifically looking at initialization, authorization, recording of both performance measures. We have 2 findings related to that. We verified supporting documentation, provided that they matched the amounts reported in the budget book. Those are the same 2 findings. We tested the full population of new and expanding businesses, and then we judgmentally selected samples from private investment leverage through BDC programs, and then we also validated the amounts that were reported in the budget book, and then confirmed evidence of the internal review and approval to verify that those numbers are accurate. Next slide. Some background information. So BDC is a nonprofit which serves as the economic development agency for the Baltimore City. Their mission is to retain and expand existing businesses, support cultural resources, and attract new opportunities to spur economic growth and to create jobs. They serve as a one-stop shop for anyone interested in opening, expanding, and relocation of a business to Baltimore City. Next slide. So to explain the 2 performance measures we looked at, for new and expanding businesses and corridors, the BDC identifies and supports commercial corridors, which are areas with concentrated commercially zoned properties serving as retail hubs for communities. They identified those. And then the measure tracks new and unique businesses supported by BDC for those zones. For the private investment leverage through BDC programs, the performance measure evaluates the amount of new private investment spurred by BDC services, and some of those services are matching funds, grants and loans, tax credit and real estate development projects, facade grants, and business attraction and assistant programs. So what did, from the budget book, we took these figures. So this is pulled directly from the budget book with 1 correction. I do want to point out a couple things. So for fiscal year 25 and 26, the actuals are not available. There is a 2-year gap or delay in reporting. So that's across the board in the budget book. So 24 actuals were reported in the 26 budget book. The performance measures are reported under Service 809, Retention, Expansion, and Attraction of Businesses. As noted before, for the new and expanding businesses in the commercial corridors, up to fiscal year 24, the actuals reported under the old methodology. And then I do want to note a correction from the budget book. So under private investment leverage through BDC, for the 24 actual and the 26 target, the budget book actually lists 41 million. We had a conversation with BDC, and that was a typo. And so we put in this presentation 410 million to not set off alarms. The next slide is basically the same data in graphical format. Next slide. Okay, our first finding is that the BDC does not consistently follow their documentation and verification practices to accurately report actual performance measures. I do want to highlight practices. I will get into formal documentation. So the BDC implemented a new methodology. This is for the total new and expanding business and commercial corridors. I mentioned that they updated the methodology, but is not formally documented, so they're going off of informal practices. BDC noted or stated that they verify the amounts reported to BBMR. However, we found that this was not consistently followed, and the effect is there's an increased risk of reporting inaccurate performance measures. Next slide. Okay, so BDC's tracking document does not support the actual results. The 2026 budget book shows 80 new and expanding businesses. We looked at the supporting documentation that BDC has, their tracking sheet, and shows only 55 businesses. And then we did note when we looked at the tracking sheet, one business was double counted. I do want to clarify that business received 2 services. However, the informal procedures and practices count only businesses, not services, so we counted that as a double counting. We also noted that they are not in compliance with their internal practices. So for 39 of 55 reported businesses reviewed, BDC could not demonstrate that they completed supervisor review or approval of intake forms and applications. And then again, these are based on the processes and the practices that we got through interviews and walkthroughs. Next slide. Okay. We also noted insufficient documentation to support the actual results. For 27 of the 55 reported businesses, BDC did not maintain documentation to demonstrate that its assisted resulted in new or expanding businesses. As I mentioned earlier, the metric is to measure BDC's impact. Also, we noted a lack of independent verification of new businesses. They do not independently verify the business qualified as new or expanding, that they were in the designated commercial district, and that they happened in the period of the measure. The BDC could not verify or demonstrate that they independently verified 7 of the 23 new businesses. Okay, so we went to identify some causes. The primary cause was that they did not have formal documentation, standards, supervisor approval requirements, verification procedures. So again, they had informal practices, but they were not formally documented. And then in addition, staff turnover and organizational restructuring contributed to gaps in the documentation and internal practices. Next slide. So we recommend that BDC, number 1, document the underlying methodology, independently verify whether a business is a new business in the commercial district, and then retain supporting documentation such as intake form application, documented for supervisory approval, evidence of the service provided, and then documenting that the business qualifies as new or expanding within that commercial district within the period that it's reported to BBMR. Next slide. So we also recommend that they implement mandatory supervisor review and verification procedures for submissions to BBMR, that they require review and reconciliation procedures by management to verify the reports that are reported to BBMR and retain the supporting documentation, to put together formal policies and procedures for the above, to provide training to staff, especially in times of high turnover, including what needs to be documented and how performance measures are to be reported, and then to work with BBMR to correct the fiscal year 24 actual results, and then also to put in the budget book the change in methodology so those who use it will know that there's a change in how the information is calculated. Next slide. Our second finding is the BDC cannot substantiate the actual numbers reported in the budget book. This is for private investment leverage through BDC programs. They do not have an effective process to validate the accuracy of the private investment amounts reported in the 2026 budget book. There's a risk of overstating the amount of private investment spurred by BDC. Next slide. So details. We noted that the actual private investment amount is not reconciled or verified before reporting. So as mentioned earlier, in the budget book, it shows $41 million. When we had the discussion with BDC, it was a typo. It should be $410 million. When we looked at the supporting documentation, the internal tracking that BDC does, it showed $953 million approximately. I want to note that we did not find any discrepancies between what was in the budget book and the supporting documentation for fiscal year '23. Okay. There, we found ineffective validation process for private investment amount. BDC did not consistently validate the private investment amount for the facade program. For both 24 and 23, we judgmentally selected 30 businesses, a value of investment of $4.3 million. We were unable to validate 6 of those businesses, making up about $1.8 million of that amount. For private investment amounts reported under the other service categories, which I mentioned earlier, such as matching funds, the private investment amount is self-reported by the businesses. BDC does not validate that number, such as looking at actual expenditures incurred. And then for estimates, they are not reviewing the estimates to look for reasonableness. Next slide. Lack of documented methodology. So the BDC does not document the underlying methodology for the number of private investment levers through BDC programs. They did not establish formal policy procedures, including expectations for validating private investment amounts. And then, sorry, that's the cause. And then also the second cause was, as I mentioned earlier, high staff turnover and organizational restructuring. The recommendations. So we recommend BDC define the methodology used for the number of private investment leverage through BDC programs, including a definition of what private investment is when they report it, programs that will be included in the metric, documentation required to validate those amounts reported in the metric, and then procedures for calculating and reporting those amounts. Next slide. We further recommend that they retain supporting documentation for those private investment amounts, and that can include independent documentation such as proof of payment of expenditures from the private investment, tax credit issuance confirmation, loan disbursement documentation, or other verifiable records. Next slide. We further recommend that that they require procedures for management review and reconciliation to verify the actual amounts reported to BBMAR, and then also retain documentation supporting those metrics being reported, to establish formal policy procedures for what it was noted above, and then again, staff training, and then also to work with BBMR to correct the 2024 actual results. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you again. Thank you again for another important audit. And I guess I'll start off with one question, and I guess it's an important question for me, being a member of the council and also a member of the budget committee that we're preparing for in the next month or so. Your audit found that the numbers BDC reported in the budget book for FY 2026 regarding business creation and expansion and private investment either could not be supported or had not been validated. At this point, should we trust the numbers that we will be provided for the budget books that we'll receive this year?
So that's a question depending on the implementation. A lot of times, that's a question related to the implementation timeframes. So some audits, the agency will implement it actually while we're out during the audit, and some will implement it as going in the future. I believe that all these were to be, the management action plans to be implemented after the audit. How that affects the timing of the budget book, I can't say.
Okay. Any other questions from, okay, at this point, we'll hear from BDC. I know we have Director, I'm sorry, President, yes, Otis Raleigh, which basically is fairly new with this organization. It hasn't been quite a year, and you are definitely taking on a challenge listening to some of the things in the audit. And I just want to say that I know you from previous organizations, and you just have a wonderful history of experience, and I think that this is probably your time to really hone in on the purpose of the Baltimore Development Corporation, and have seen some of the efforts already within the 8 or 9 months that you have been here. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, CAO, Comptroller, honorable members of the board. It's been about 20 years since I've stood in front of this Board of Estimates. I just want to say, first and foremost, I want to thank the Department of Audits. BDC welcomed this audit. We took it seriously. It's an essential part of public accountability, and we agree with both findings. The audit tells us exactly what we need to fix, and we are in the midst of fixing it. I do not want to be redundant and restate what my colleague from the Department of Audits already laid out. And so if it's okay, if we can just actually go to slide 6. Because I feel like the problems were named quite clearly. I wanted to go directly into our corrective actions. BDC has already taken concrete steps in response to these findings, formally defined methodology for both performance measures, including documentation standards by service types. We've created 2 deal close classifications, close result verified and close assist unverified, to prevent inflated reporting in the future. We require now VP and SVP review and sign off before any submission to the BBMR. We're committed to correcting FY24 actuals with BBMR, and we'll proceed with getting that done. Our new exit surveys and digitized intake forms feed directly into HubSpot, which is our CRM, to replace reliance on self-reporting data and paper. It was just 10 months ago when I came in here, the amount of paper that we were still using was interesting. And so we are fixing that. I think, we have periodic staff training during both onboarding, upon policy updates, and annually now. Again, this was not sadly in place previously. And we target full implementation of all of our corrective actions by July 1st of 2026. I do think it is very important also to note that the people responsible for preparing the FY24 performance reports and some of the issues that were present previously, including our former COO, our CFO, the former VP of Business and Neighborhood Development, and the former Managing Director of Neighborhood Development and Capital Projects, are no longer with the organization. This I know in some ways compounded our inability to reconstruct some of the things that audits was finding, but it also, I hope, gives confidence to this honorable board that the path forward has new individuals. We are hiring a director of compliance. We're building out our kind of bureaucratic infrastructure in a way that BDC has not had since its forming in 1991. And so I'm excited to report that to the board and to say that that is an important issue for us. To be direct, also, the auditors found no fraud, no misuse of funds, and both of the findings are classified as control deficiencies. They reflect gaps in how we documented and verified our work, and not the integrity of the work itself. That's an important point, particularly as we have been charged to manage and deploy the city's dollars in the economic development ecosystem. I think it just in terms of the key messages, and we can go to the next slide, to the board, it's just important for you to know we welcome this. We know how essential it is for there to be clarity in terms of how and what we do. We have every intention to be bringing forward just more predictability and transparency, and much less kind of cloak and dagger foolishness as it relates to the economic development activities of the Baltimore Development Corporation. I've noted the actions that we take, and just the overall, as we think about our mission, we are now trying to build an organization where data integrity matches the ambition of our mission. And so with that, I'll be open to any questions that the honorable board may have.
Thank you. I'll start. And you said since 1991, that's pretty, that's a long time. So you are definitely restructuring. It reminds me of when we kind of started with Transform Baltimore, just really getting into zoning for this entire city. So I'll just ask the same question I asked the auditor as I guess the council prepares with the mayor and administration for our next budget cycle. How is it the things that are in the book, are you working to get those numbers validated and moving forward?
Yes, ma'am, and I feel fairly confident, particularly by the time the budget is approved, everything will be validated and we also though believe very firmly in terms of fail fast, learn fast, fix fast. So where and if there are any errors, we will take speedy corrective action.
Thank you for that. And then just another note, definitely a believer in partnerships. We have some really strong businesses already in our city and welcome more. And I'm hopeful that that's one of the goals that you're trying to reach as well, is bringing in new innovative businesses in our different communities, if you want to just speak on that.
Yes, so part of our restructuring, we've created a Chief Innovation Officer who is also the Executive Director of the ETC, the Emerging Technology Center. But beyond just the ETC, it is actually directly to your point, Madam Vice President, is looking how that we deploy innovation, whether it's the home-based daycare center or multi-generation development, multi-billion-dollar development corporation, how we can be helpful in bringing innovative tools and innovative ideas to be frank, to help them make more money and to help to create more jobs and economic opportunity for the city.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with you and helping to move our Park Heights forward. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, no further questions. Yes, and we'll have our auditor back. Thank you.
Thanks. I just want to respond to one comment made by the president when he said that no fraud was identified. I just want to clarify this was not a fraud audit. We did not do specific fraud procedures looking for fraud, and that was not the purpose. We were specifically focused on these performance measures. So I want to clarify, I'm not saying we didn't find any fraud, but we weren't looking for fraud, and I don't want to make that as part of our report.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
I think that's going to require additional clarification from behind you.
I'm sorry, just to be clear, and the auditor is correct, part of when I joined the organization in, at the end of June of this year, part of what we need to do was actually bring in forensic auditors to look, because I assumed based on the issues that I inherited that there must have been fraud or criminal activity, because I thought no one could be this stupid, and we did not find any fraud. We brought in a firm, paid the money, did it. So this was not as a result of this audit, but we have not found any fraud or criminal activity as it relates to our financial institution.
Thank you.
I'm seeing several other agency heads looking at you with commiseration.
Thank you so much. No further questions on this topic, which is duly noted by the board. The next item on the non-routine agenda is from the Law Department under SB 2610853. This is a request to approve a settlement agreement with a plaintiff who suffered injuries as a pedestrian from being struck by a city fire vehicle in 2021. On behalf of the Law Department, we have the Chief of Staff, Matthew Bradford. And Mr. Bradford, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Vice Council President, Mr. Mayor, Comptroller, members of the board. The Law Department requests approval of a settlement related to the claim of Daryl Bailey. The settlement amount is $225,000. The alleged facts are as follows. On November 2nd, 2021, Bailey was crossing the street within a crosswalk on Holiday Street at its intersection with Lexington Street, so right outside of our building at City Hall. As he was walking, a Baltimore City Fire Department sedan was making a left turn from Holiday Street onto Lexington Street and struck Bailey As a result, he suffered some serious injuries. There wasn't much in dispute here. The driver failed to see the pedestrian and yield the right-of-way. Given its likelihood of a substantial adverse jury verdict, the Law Department negotiated and recommends approval of a settlement in the amount of $225,000. And as far as discipline goes, our understanding is that the city driver was not disciplined, but information was pretty limited here given the age of the incident and some personnel turnover within the fire department. And I'll take any questions from the board.
Any questions from the board? Comptroller?
Well, this is less of a question for the law department and more of a comment for the city administrator and for the mayor. There's no need to go into all this right now, but after, I would say, extensive conversation around this matter with the law department, I really think that we need to put our heads together and look at a policy, a citywide policy that makes certain that whenever we have any type of accident involving a city employee and a member of the public, that we have a multi-agency response to it to hopefully minimize the chances that an agency will quietly try to get away without making any substantial changes. But and I'm happy to have these conversations.
Yep. So I thank you so much for that, Mr. Comptroller. I'm sure that this came up in a prior Board of Estimates meeting, but we have been, RISC has actually been taking a more proactive role with all of these accidents as they come through. And we've been working on reconstituting or constituting an accident review committee. And we actually have a draft policy that will be making its way to the board. I think Sean Kay is going to be presenting on it this week. We have a safety stat that we do, and accidents and review of the accident policy has been a part of the safety stat. So we're just a few board meetings away from being able to present that policy to you and the board, as well as fully constituting that accident review committee. But right now, RISC is taking a more proactive stance on requiring agencies to send those accidents to them.
And with a little luck, this will mean that Matthew only has to worry about this for roughly 30 to 36 more months, given the general lag between how long it takes for something to happen to percolate its way up through the claims process and the settlement process. Hopefully, like by next term, we won't be seeing any of.
Usually not us. When a claimant decides to actually file suit, they have a limitations period that allows them up to 3 years to file. I'm imagining this was filed at the deadline and then took some time to actually get there. And even though there was not much dispute here, we do sometimes have to go through the discovery process, even when somebody is injured, just so we can know the nature when we're going to spend this much city funds.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions from members of the board? I will now entertain a motion to approve this item. All those in favor say aye.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
This item is approved.
No, now it's all in favor, say aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm skipping. Now it's all favor to say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. This item is approved.
Thank you.
I think this is the longest agenda I've had since when I fill in. So the next item on the non-routine agenda is from the Bureau of Procurement under SB 25-14625. This is a request to note an emergency procurement with Schaefer Plastics North America to provide residential trash cans from April 16, 2025 through October 30, 2025. On behalf of procurement, we have Chief Procurement Officer Adam Main. Chief Main, the floor is yours.
Well, we have Chief Mann here.
I'm here, but I'm going to turn it right over to the deputy.
Please. Thank you.
All right. So good morning, Madam Vice President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller. My name is Alan Robinson. I am the Deputy Director for the Department of Public Works. This procurement item was on our behalf, and we do have a quick presentation that's kind of talk about the municipal trash can program a little bit and where we are. So this was in reference to SB 25-14625, the Schaefer Plastics emergency authorization for the purchase of 6,000 trash cans. And so this was at the time to address a gap in our contracts that we have going. And we did it at a cost of $325,000 to address the backlog that was building at the time for replacement cans throughout the city. Just to give some perspective, between our municipal trash cans and our recycling cans, we had approximately 380,000 units out there. So this is to help support and replace some of those damaged cans that may be with residents. So to that point, as I stated, this was a stopgap between two contracts. We had an original co-op with Houston Galveston, and we have our current new contract is with Sourcewell, and Schaefer Plastics is the vendor for that. So as you saw on the emergency authorization, when we first came to the, when we first did the emergency authorization, it was from April to October, excuse me, to make sure that we had a window to get the actual bid out and awarded. And the bid was awarded in September of 2025 with a term of through April 4th of 2029. Now at this stage, we have a remaining balance of $591,000 on what was originally a $1.19 million agreement. And this is basically to make sure that we have a steady flow of cans coming in as the requests are coming in from our citizens. Next couple of slides kind of talk about the orders that are being placed under that current contract and how we're making sure that we maintain a minimum threshold of 1,500 to ensure that once we get to that level, we are ordering a new batch of cans to make sure that we have enough in stock to address any concerns from residents as they're coming in. And we can go to the next slide. This just talks about the actual orders received over the last year, and we're looking at a rolling calendar year. That does include some that were captured under the emergency authorization, as well as what was then procured under the standard contract. So our next slide just talks about, mention the threshold. We said we want to make sure we have a maintenance threshold, and our maintenance threshold is 1,500 cans. Once we get to that level, we are then placing a new order with the vendor. One, we want to make sure that the cans are timely in which we're receiving them and they're not stored out in a long period of time, which they too can become damaged, and we don't have too many in stock at any given time to cause any other concerns that may come with having overstock. Now, I do want to take a point to just remind folks, since we are in a public forum, of what they can do if they are experiencing any issues with their municipal trash cans. You can place an order through 311 to have that can replaced, and the process is quite simple. You put your 311 order request in either through calling 311 or through the 311 app, and you will receive an actual form that asks you a couple of questions about the nature of the can. Whether it's actually broken, if it was missing or stolen, things of that nature to help us track how we are replacing the can and why we may be replacing the can. So with that, that concludes my presentation on this item, and if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer those.
I just have one quick question. Do you pick up the damaged can as well? Is that transfer all in one day, the same time?
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
once we are making a delivery of the new can, we will remove if it is the damaged can that is in play, we will remove that damaged can and take it back with us.
And how long will you get rid of the backlog of, is there a backlog?
Well, I will
Of
say that right now,
replacements.
we do have a couple of folks who have been asking for cans, and we are working to address those as we are getting the new orders in.
Gotcha. So the key is to call 311.
The key is to call 311, and we will make sure that we are putting you in the queue and listing all your concerns and getting it addressed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and then Mr. Comptroller.
Two things for you, Mr. Director. One, first is a very serious one. I'm assuming that you feel like a winner with that gold and blue tie on today. something I know you're not used to, but couldn't resist. It's payback from yesterday. But secondly, in more,
Something you're not going to be mayor, and he's still going to be mayor.
that's fine.
That was good.
No, it wasn't. The young kids are going to eat him alive for that tonight on Threads and Instagram, and I'm going to make sure of it. But I'll still be fast, Bill. So let's start there. Anyway, when someone is putting in a 301 for a replacement can, what is the service delivery date time? Or the metric that we're using for how long it will take to get that can. So if let's just say, let me knock on wood, even though it's April, if I put in one for snow removal, it says 48 hours. So for this one, what's the time frame that we give folks?
All right, so for that, I am going to ask my bureau head. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, let the Carver Care Bear come and do it.
I know what it is.
I'm going to allow my bureau head, Mr. Kendall Abu-Hakim, to kind of reference the actual operational question.
Good morning, Madam Vice President, Mr. Mayor, board members. So we're trying to make some revisions. It's not an exact answer to your question because we've had some experiences recently with challenges to those SLA information. Just as an example, we recently had some people call in for cans and they were told they have to wait 3 to 4 months. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. So we're trying to circle that information now, make some revisions to those things, and then I can have a more definitive response, because I don't want to give one now and then we make some changes and then it's something different. So.
Yes, sir. Well, let's make sure that we get that. So, like you said, we don't want any confusion because we don't have that with any other services. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Comptroller.
Thank you, Madam President. Just one quick question. I was trying to remember, because it's now been a little bit since we started the municipal can program. Those cans are RFID chipped?
They are not RFID chipped.
They are not.
We did not pay for the RFID chipping, from my understanding.
Have they never been, or we stopped doing it?
No, they were never.
Okay.
That was an additional cost at the time that we felt that was not necessary to incur.
That was something that I remember being discussed at council hearings. I did not realize it had, but that fits in with the follow-up question, which is, this seems like a really good deal in terms of for cans that size, as structured. And if they also had chips, that would be a really good cost. But okay, I got you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes.
a couple of quick questions. So to the comptroller's question, originally the specifications included RFID chips. That required a mechanism to track them on the vehicles themselves. Our vehicles don't have that. So to the Deputy Director's point, it was not deemed a worthy expenditure once we've made some of these replacement orders. In the future, that's the idea, once we get all of that on our trucks and everything. Other thing I just want to point for public awareness, these cans, correct me if I'm wrong, Deputy, are property of the City of Baltimore, so they should not be taken when someone moves or taken or sold, as we've seen sometimes. So it's, I just want to make that clear, correct, Deputy?
That is absolutely correct,
Yes.
Director.
And
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
And since we're on PSAs, I just make sure that Deputy Director, that we consistently remind folks that the blue can is for recycling. The green one is for trash, because we know there's a lot of confusion. I had someone send this lovely video to me about why they were upset that their blue trash can wasn't empty. It was recycling day, and they had actual trash in it, not recycling. So we have to make sure we continuously remind folks of that.
And your cleanup day is?
It's Saturday, April 25th. I cannot wait to bring in some of our new directors into neighborhood cleanup with Mayor Scott. We have a couple newbies, and they will be hazed in the proper way.
Right, that's my son's birthday.
All right, and I just want to close out with one thing. I know that our comms team is doing a tremendous job of making sure that we are educating folks. One of the latest things that through the leadership, through our bureau head, is a new implementation of the OOPS tag. Basically, this tag is placed on your can when you have perhaps put wrong materials into the can for collection that day. And it should educate you. You can also call in and get more information from a person to talk to about what should you be doing to actually properly recycle, or what days you should be putting out your actual correct cans. So those OOPS tags are in circulation now, and they have been tremendous in helping get the word out.
Have you noticed an increase in people recycling?
We will
within
say
the
that
last
yes,
year?
but also we've also noticed an increase in contamination.
Okay.
And so that's kind of offset the gains that we've made in recycling. So that's where
Right.
the education piece really comes into play. So while we are encouraging everyone, we want everyone to recycle, and we are offering other avenues for different types of diversion, such as yard waste and composting and things of that nature. We want to make sure people are doing it properly so that we can collect it and just continue to push it through the single stream.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Seeing no further questions, this item is now noted by this board. The next two items are similar and cover the same subject matter, so we will call them together and vote on them separately. Those items are SB 25-12907, DPW Amendment Number 6, Synagro Technologies LLC Back River, and SB 25-14797, DPW Amendment Number 4 to Agreement, Synagro Technologies LLC Patapsco. On behalf of DPW, we have, again, Deputy Director Alan Robinson, and Director Robinson, the floor is yours.
Thank you again, Madam Vice President. I appreciate that. Again, Alan Robinson, I want to thank the board again for the opportunity to speak. With me today, I do have my Deputy Bureau Head, Mr. Mike Holman. He is one of our chief engineers and is very intimately involved with the workings of the Synagro contract. So today, I just wanted to kind of give a quick overview of what Synagro does to support our wastewater treatment operations. While we have these two contracts up for before the board today, we are looking at one for Back River, as you stated, and one for Patapsco, because these are our two primary wastewater treatment plants, and they both have very similar production needs when it comes to the removal of biosolids. So the presentation today is really talking about what partnership we have with Synagro currently and how they are utilizing our biosolids. We're going to focus strictly on Back River because it is very similar between the two, but this presentation is highlighted to focus on Back River. So we can go to the next slide. So just to give a little bit of information around that, Back River wastewater treatment plant is our largest plant in Maryland. It treats 180 million gallons per day and serves over 140 square miles, including Baltimore City and County. So it's giving you some context there. So through Synagro, we have used that for our Pelletech operations. So what are the Pelletech operations? So through that Pelletech operation, we are dewatering the sludge via a centrifuge. So when the wastewater comes in, it has a lot of materials in it. And so we have to separate that, and we separate the sludge, and we want to dewater the sludge, and we put it through the centrifuge. And the purpose of that is to try to dry this sludge and create these Class A pellets for sale to market. And now, the Synagro facility that is located at Back River has the capacity of drying up to 65 tons per day. And so think about the fact that when we're dewatering this and we're bringing it down, we're handling about 65 tons. If it was still wet, we're going to triple that. And, we're looking at about 195 on that. Oh, yeah, about 195 tons on that. So next slide talks about the actual treatment plant process flow. How do we receive this sludge? How do we receive the materials? And basically it starts at home. When you flush your toilet, there you go. That's the starting point. And it goes through this full process. Now, one of the key processes here is the digesters. We started with the picture of those golden egg digesters. That is to help remove some of the chemicals, the denitrification, and some of the other things. And I'm going to let Mike talk more about the technical piece in a moment, but just wanted to give you a understanding of how and where Synagro plays a part. Synagro is pretty much at the far end of this after it goes through the treatment process. Their role is to help dry this, break down the sludge, and create these pellets for hauling. Now, talking more specifically about the contract for Back River. This is amendment number 5 for the contract extension. Now, the reason we're bringing this forth is because we have to have a mechanism in order to pay Synagro for the services they have rendered. And that is the intent of this contract. We've been working with Synagro for quite some time through this operation as a whole, but this amendment is to extend the current contract for another 4 years with a 1-year optional extension. So essentially going from 2025 through 2035 for the proprietary services that they're providing us. We take a look at the next slide. This talks about the current contracts. As I stated, we've been with them quite some time. We started this contract back in 1991. And when we started this contract back in 1991, it was contingent upon our newly implemented digestion eggs that you see when you're driving around 695 and off of Eastern Avenue. And so through that process, these are all the different amendments that we've gone through with them, and we're technically just now hitting the 5th amendment. And you know, this has been quite some time for us to get to this point, but we are looking to improve our relationship with them so that it becomes more operationally beneficial for both parties going forward as we build this out. Now, this concludes my presentation, but I do want to bring Mr. Holman up to help assist to answering any technical questions that you guys may have around this.
Yes. You want to state your name for the record?
Hi, good morning. Michael Hallman, Deputy Bureau Head for Water and Wastewater.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess I'll start off with one important question for me. As we prepare to receive the proposed budget, please explain how this contract fits within DPW's budget for FY27.
Okay, as it's currently slated, one thing to keep into perspective is when you have drying operations, they should be relatively static or standard costs, and that's what's factored into the budget. But because of the current status of the digesters in Back River particularly, this is going to get a little bit technical, so please stop me if I confuse anyone. But without having the digestion there, we are now required to process approximately 40 dry tons per day more than we would typically do during normal operations. And so with that comes additional cost and burden that we have been bearing for a period of time now. In terms of the digestion project itself, we are making very good progress on that. I'm expecting to Pancake, the comptroller remembers our food references when on his site tour.
We try to be careful about the food references.
Yes, try. We have our first 2 in-ground digesters coming back online here in the next couple of weeks, but we expect all 6 of them completely back online by the end of the summer. And then the focus is really on those beautiful egg digesters thereafter. Once all the in-grounds are in service, we're going to be able to get back into what we call regular digestion. That can be able to handle our normal flow that comes into the plant, and then we should be reducing the amount of biosolids that we normally handle, which, very long-winded way of saying it, it gets us back to more regular or more consistent costs associated with that.
Thank you. And I see you have a contract timeline that started really since 1991.
Correct.
So,
yes, they've been a great partner for us for a lot of years.
All right. Any other questions?
Madam
Yes.
Vice President, just want to also say that, as Deputy mentioned and the Deputy Bureau Head mentioned, a lot of this hinges on getting digestion back up and running. Deputy Bureau Head mentioned we're trying to get 30-some% up and running in the next few months. I am also happy to say that the dryers at the Patapsco facility are up and running. So they are running as intended, and that is going to make sure that our costs are what was predicted and we're not going to have those spikes anymore. So thanks to the Deputy Bureau Head and the wastewater team.
Thank you. Thank you both, and thanks for the additional information. And I will now entertain a motion for each amendment separately, and we'll, a motion to approve item SB 25-1 2907, DPW Amendment Number 6 for Centergrow Technologies LLC, Back River.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approving this item, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. This item is approved. Next, I will entertain a motion to approve item SB 25147797, DPW Amendment Number 4 to Agreement Centergrow Technologies LLC, Patapsco.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approving this item, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. This item is approved, and thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is a walk-on item from the Bureau of Procurement under SB 261157. This is a request to approve a goods and services contract award with Stallion Infrastructure Services for a term of 4 years for $227,500 on behalf of procurement. We have Chief Officer Adam Manny.
Good morning, Madam President. I'm going to turn it over to the Director of the Elections Office.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Vice President, Clifford Tatum, Board of Elections, Mr. Comptroller, Mr. Mayor, and board members. The contract for the security cameras for the ballot drop boxes for the city of Baltimore is a state law required security measure. And so the contractor that's been awarded has been the vendor that's provided the services to us over the last, since the beginning of the security program established by the state. So we submitted the process to the procurement office for an award. The RFP was put out on the street. Only the one vendor responded back. And so we've asked for this award to be approved for this vendor. The deployment date for the security cameras is May the 4th. And so we asked for it to be walked onto this calendar for today so that the vendor could be in place to follow the state with deploying the drop boxes on May the 4th.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on this item? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approving this item, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. This item is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is a walk-on item from the Bureau of Procurement under SB 261177. This is a request to approve a select source contract for pool maintenance and repair. On behalf of procurement, we have Chief Procurement Officer Maney,
Yes, ma'am.
and the floor is yours.
Thank you. And once again, through this walk-on item, I'm going to turn it over to the Director of Recreation and Parks to give you the information.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Vice President, Mayor Scott, Comptroller Hearing, and honorable board members. This walk-on is to make sure that we can open our pools on time in May. It's with Fountain Craft for a contract for them to do all of our seasonal repairs and maintenance to make sure our pools are ready to go. That's a contract not to exceed $500,000.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. Which pool locations will receive the services under this contract?
It's for all of our
There is-
pools.
Oh, okay, including the aquatic center on Oakley?
No, ma'am, it's not. I'm sorry, with the exception of our indoor pools. It's for all of our outdoor pools.
Oh, okay, outdoor pools.
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha.
It's to make sure that our pools are ready and functioning and operational from season to season.
Oh, okay.
It's just a general maintenance.
Thank you. Should this board expect to see additional contracts for pool maintenance for the 2026 summer session?
No, ma'am. And we're going to be working with procurement to make sure that we do a solicitation in the first quarter. And the goal is to try to do a 3 or 4 year contract so that it's not something we have to do every year.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, question?
No question. I just wanted to wish the Dr. Director a happy anniversary. This is his anniversary today.
Oh, happy
It's
anniversary.
a happy anniversary to him and his lovely wife. Just make
Thank you.
Right.
This is good.
And
Mine's tomorrow, so
Comptroller.
every year I need you to make sure you say something. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
That was your...
No.
Oh,
I have one-
oh,
I have
okay.
one after the next. I have a good, yeah, right.
I will now entertain a motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approving this item, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. This item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. The last item is another walk-on item from the mayor's office under SB 2611052. This is a request to approve a transfer of funds to facilitate implementation of the Baltimore City Security Deposit Assistance Program and Mayor's Office of Energy Stabilization Assistance Program. On behalf of the mayor's office, we have City Administrator Faith Leach. The floor is yours. And also
Yes.
Dr. Griffin. We'll
Yes.
start- I mean Brooks. Sorry.
Yes, good morning, Honorable Board of City Administrator Faith Leach. I'm going to turn it over to Director Brooks to talk through this program and this transfer.
Good morning, Vice President, Honorable Mayor, Comptroller, Honorable Board members. Again, I am Dr. Brooks, Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success. In recognition of the economic strain brought on by rising costs, energy, gas, food, housing, Mayor Scott has requested the implementation of Baltimore City Security Deposit Assistance Program and Mayor's Office Energy Stabilization Assistance Program to assist Baltimore City residents with energy and housing costs. This transfer of $900,000 from the Mayor's Priority Project Fund to the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success will be used to implement both of these programs through the Baltimore City Community Action Partnership Centers, or better known as our CAP centers. Next slide, please. The Baltimore City Security Deposit Assistance Program, authorized under the Baltimore City Code Article 13, Subtitle 6B, will provide a one-time security deposit grant to eligible Baltimore City residents who have identified a rental unit but lack those security deposit funds. So they've been able to be approved for a housing unit, but many times they don't have the security deposit to be able to get that unit. The program will be allocated $250,000 to support this, and the grantee will get able to request up to $2,000. Payments will be issued directly to the landlord and applied towards the security deposit. Next slide. The eligibility criteria is that it must be a Baltimore City resident seeking housing in Baltimore City. They must meet eligibility income requirements. They must demonstrate housing needs such as a risk of homelessness, housing instability, living in overcrowded or unsafe housing conditions, transitioning from a shelter or temporary housing, provide documentation of an identified rental unit, and submit a lease that has been signed or landlord-intended lease agreement. We have prioritized applicants, and those are households with children, individuals living that are exiting from homelessness, survivors of domestic violence, and our older adults ages 62 and above. The next program that we have targeted is the Mayor's Office of Energy Stabilization Assistance Program, which will provide supplemental financial assistance to households that have already received OHEP benefits but remain at risk of utility termination due to the rising energy costs. We're allocating $650,000, and for those that apply, they are able to receive up to $1,500 in supplemental assistance. Payments will be used and issued directly to the energy provided once the applicant has applied. The eligibility criteria, they must live in Baltimore City. They must have received OHEP benefits for this year because they're no longer eligible for those OHEP benefits. They're at risk of utility shutoff or already have a turn-off notice. They still have a past-due energy bill and they're experiencing financial hardship. Again, our priority applicants are those older adults age 60 and older, those that have young children under age 6, young residents with disabilities, residents with medical needs. And I want to be very specific when we say residents with medical needs. As you know, we hit 90 degrees yesterday. We're hitting it again. We do have some residents who need oxygen. They have CPOD. They also may have asthma, and they need to have those nebulizers. Also, those that have very high energy bills compared to their income. That's the end of my presentation, and I will take any questions.
I just, first of all, just want to thank you, Dr. Brooks, for the agency that you lead for just most dire resources, especially in what's going on in today's society with bills going up, our energy, electric bills going up, people looking for decent housing and just working to find homes, and of course the work that you do in implementing all this through the CAP Center process. So appreciate everything you do. And I'll stop there. I have no questions. Any questions from members of the board?
I have one.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you, Madam Vice President, for all your work on the security deposit system. So we just wanted to make sure that we let you know that we deeply appreciate that as we now get into implementation.
Appreciate that. There are a lot of particularly single women with children that, struggle from day to day with just that one income in their household. And security deposit relief is just, that will help them, if not pay that security deposit, help with other things that they need to start in that new rental apartment. And on that note, I will now entertain a motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approving this item say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. This item is approved. Mr. Comptroller, you have a comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I know that this has been a long meeting, and I ask the board's indulgence if I could take a minute and just remind us of a less happy anniversary than the Director of Rec and Parks' wedding. Monday, April 13th, was the 50th anniversary of Charles Hopkins, who was mad at the mayor at the time for something, came to the temporary city hall, this building being in the process of renovation, came to the temporary city hall in the old USF&G building on Calvert Street near Redwood, determined to shoot the mayor. And he shot mayoral aide Kathleen Nolan and confronted a second mayoral aide, Joanne McQuaid, looking for Schaefer, knowing that Schaefer was having lunch behind a locked door. He made a point of, the mayoral aide, Joanne, made a point of telling Hopkins that he was down in Annapolis and not in the building. And so he grabbed her, took her hostage, and they wandered around City Hall, the temporary City Hall, until he found the City Council offices, where he shot and wounded Councilman Carol Fitzgerald and shot and killed Councilman Dominic Leone. This story was retold every year by Councilman Bobby Curran, who the three of us served with on the council. And he made a point of sharing the story every year because he said there was a second fatality that went unmentioned in the papers. His father, Councilman J. Joseph Curran Sr., witnessed the attack and had a heart attack. And subsequently died later that year. It sometimes makes one feel old to tell stories about things that happened that you witnessed, that the others that you're now with did not. But it makes me feel truly part of history to realize that I am now part of passing on a story that was told to me by my colleague, and now I'm sharing that story forward. Since Bobby left the council, since Councilman Curran left the council, I don't know that the council has recognized this on an annual basis, but given the fact that it was the 50th anniversary, I did want to make sure that there was some public acknowledgement of this. And especially in these times, it's good to remind us that the political violence has no place in a democracy, no matter how upset you are at anyone else for perceived transgressions. And I thank the board's indulgence.
And Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you for that, Mr. Comptroller. I'm going to end this on a lighter note to apologize for my tardiness this morning, but it's for good reason. Even the mayor can be randomly drug tested, and I went willingly and took my tests and came to do my duty right after. Thank you very much.
All right, congratulations for you. And also just to thank you.
Gotta keep my yellow card.
Maybe congratulations to you as well for being, I guess, picked as the president of the African American Mayors Association.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Very strong supporter of elected officials being involved in outside organizations nationally, spreading the wonderful positive things that we do in our city here, and also serving roles on committees and so on as well is just so important. And as there is no more business before the board, we are now adjourned this meeting. The next meeting of the, do I hit this, or I wait till the end? The next meeting of the Board of Estimates will be on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026 at 10 a.m. for the Department of Finance's presentation of the FY 2027 budget. We will return for a special meeting in the evening on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. for the Board of Estimates Taxpayers Night. The meeting will include a presentation on the fiscal 2027 preliminary budget from Interim Budget Director Bob Senemy, and an overview of the capital budget from the Department of Planning. After the presentation, residents are invited to give testimony on their budget priorities. Testimony can be submitted in person in the Board of Estimates chambers, virtual, WebEx format, written, web form, or email submissions, voicemail, dedicated Taxpayers Night phone line. You can view Taxpayers Night on Charm TV and Channel 25. Translation services will be provided, and I thank everyone for participating and tuning in on this 2.5-hour plus meeting today.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Estimates bid opening for April 15th, 2026. We had a long Board of Estimates meeting this morning, so we're all a little tired, but we're going to try to up our energy for the bid opening. We have a few addenda to share this morning. I think we just have 3. We got one from DOT. Okay, I see you caught that. Thank you, Shalond. Up first, Public Works, SC949RR, Stony Run Wastewater Pumping Station upgrades and Brooklyn Wastewater Pumping Station Vacuum Priming System modifications. That was due to be open today. Yes, I did that with one breath, thank you. And that new opening date for SC949RR is now May 6th. For procurement, RFQ 000781, small meter replacement for water meters. That opening date was today, but has now been moved to May 6th. And transportation, TR26010, ADA curb ramp construction east, urgent need. That new opening date is now on May 6th, 2026. And we have 5 bids to open today, and up first is for Public Works, SC1028R, cleaning of the outfall interceptor.
All right, good morning, sports fans. We have one bid received
confirming 1028R.
What? 1028R.
Okay.
Yes. I'm gonna hand you the duplicate.
Thank you. And it's
Um,
marked duplicate. Good job.
Wait. Wait, I missed the. Sorry, I just don't see their name yet.
I got the bid bond and then the sticker must have come off.
Oh, it's okay. It was in the front.
Is it the front? Yeah, I think it's like B.
I have
Page B.
Page 87 shows the
It usually
bidder's
is
name.
page B. Oh, here it is. Okay, tight. Okay, I have a bid bond. All right, the company is Mobile Dredging and Video Pipe Incorporated.
Okay.
And I have a signed bid bond.
Hold on a sec, I gotta do a bid column. Okay.
And the total amount.
Do we have an original?
I have the original and you have
And a copy.
the duplicate.
Okay, bid amount.
And the total bid amount is $13,985,800.00.
That number was 13,985,800.00.
Correct?
Okay, and that was our only bidder, Mobile Dredging and Video Pipe Incorporated, for $13,985,800.00. And that was for the SC 1028R cleaning of the outfall interceptor. Up next, we have another bid for Public Works, SC 1043R, rehabilitation and improvements to sanitary sewers at various locations in Baltimore City.
Great. We have
Oh,
received.
Oh, please. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Shay. Go ahead.
We have received 3 bids.
Okay. These have bonds, right?
Yes, the first one is from Spinello Companies. I have the original, and I'm going to hand you a duplicate.
Thank you.
I have the signed bid bond on page 265. And then the total bid amount is $12,723,300.00.
That number was 12,723,300.00.
That's correct.
Okay, and we had one original, one duplicate. And Shay. Okay, that bidder was Spinello for $12,723,300.00.
Okay. The next bid is from Anchor Construction Corporation. And I have an original and a duplicate.
Thanks.
And
Did they mark the total and the bond? Still?
yeah,
Shay.
can you look in your
That's
copy?
not you, is it? Okay.
Can you look in your copy for the bond?
I do have the
Oh,
bond.
Wait, I
in
see the bond.
Page 264, and I have a
And
fully, like a fresh one in this
I have a
packet,
fresh
too.
seal over here too.
Okay.
Great. Fully bonded.
And they put the little tabs on there. Wasn't that nice?
Thank you, Anchor Construction. And the total bid amount for Anchor Construction for SC 1043R is $10,433,481.
That was 10,433,481.00.
Correct.
Okay, that bidder was Anchor Construction Corporation for $10,433,481.00. And here's a whole bunch of rubber bands. That's just one duplicate, or is it two?
No, this is some other documentation they added.
Oh, okay. Okay, just making sure. Okay.
Okay. Okay, the last bid received is from Monumental Paving and Excavating. I have an original, and I just handed you, I think, a second original.
Oh. Yeah, it's not marked.
Okay. Two originals, from Monumental Paving Excavating.
Pardon me, sorry. I do see a bid bond. Do you?
I see a bid bond.
Okay.
And the total bid amount is $10,500,000 and 0 cents.
Okay, that was 10,500,000,000.00.
Correct.
That bidder was Monumental Paving and Excavating, Inc. for $10,500,000 and 0 cents. And that was our final of 3 bidders for SC 1043R, rehabilitation and improvements to sanitary sewers at various locations in Baltimore City. Up next, for Public Works, we have SC 1051. Is the contract name right? It says locations in Baltimore City.
It should be rehabilitation and improvements to sanitary sewers, various locations in Baltimore City. So you forgot her first name.
Let me go fix this before we, oh wait, it's right on the, sorry, folks, for some technical discussion here. It's right on the opening summary, but it didn't pull the whole title over to the bid page.
All right.
Is it not the rep text, maybe?
I don't know, maybe.
You can have it
Maybe,
on it and do the rep
but
text.
you have the whole
Yeah.
full name there, so I'm gonna leave it alone and you can
Okay.
figure out so that it moves over. Yeah, it might be
Peruse the
just a-
machinations of Excel after this.
Yeah. Sometimes we outprogram ourselves. I think this one's also gonna need a bond,
Yep.
so I'm adding that column, and I'm ready.
Okay, the first one we have received is from Spinello Companies. I have an original. Here's a duplicate. I have a bid bond.
Yep.
And the total bid amount is $10,443,300 and 0 cents.
Okay, that number was 10,443,300.00.
Correct.
Okay, that bidder was Spinello for $10,443,300 and 0 cents.
Keep taking these from you. Yep, I'm gonna put it in my hair and then we're all gonna have an issue. Okay, the next bid received is from Anchor Construction Corporation. Okay, I have 2 originals.
Okay. May I have one? And a bond.
And I have a signed bid bond. And the total bid amount is $9,198,327.
Okay, that number was 9,198,327.00.
Correct.
Okay. That bidder was Anchor Construction Corporation for $9,198,327 and 0 cents.
Oh, wait. That's also yours. Okay, the last one for SC 1051 is from Monumental Paving and Excavating. You can give that, thank you. I have two originals.
Thanks.
And
And a bond.
I have a bond. And the total bid amount is $9,350,000.00.
Okay, that number was 9,350,000.00.
Correct.
That final bidder was Monumental Paving and Excavating, Inc. for $9,350,000. Let me try that again. $9,350,000.00. And that was our final of three bidders for SC 1051 Rehabilitation in various locations in Baltimore City. And we will make sure that tab has the title on it when it gets published. Up next, for the Bureau of Procurement, we have RFQ 000790, and this is for personal care and homemaker service for senior care clients.
Great. Okay, I have, the first bid is received from Compassionate Home Care LLC. I have one original, and I have 3 duplicates, and I have a flash
Are these
drive.
totals? Are these going to have totals, or is this like cost per service? Itemized?
Nope, total. We'll have a total.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, and the total bid price, and do these have checks or bonds?
So this one did not have a check, but there was a bond.
We have a bond, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and this has a bid bond. Great.
Hang on a sec. Sorry. I got to make the columns a little smaller.
Add bid bond or check to that column.
Yeah.
So some of these may have checks.
Yeah.
This one has a bond.
This has a bond.
Bond. Okay.
Okay, the total bid amount is $1,836,450.
Okay. That number was 1,836,450.00.
Correct. Okay. The next bid is from Trustworthy Staffing Solutions LLC.
Okay.
I have an original and I have a flash drive. And I have 3 duplicates.
Okay. And
This one has a check, so I am going to.
what's the check amount?
Read you the check amount, and then the check number, I think, is.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
the?
The check amount is $17,957.28.
Okay. Okay.
And then the check number, 301-63-99-851.
Wow. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the total amount is $897,864.
Okay, that number is 897,864.00.
Correct.
That bidder was, Trustworthy Staffing Solutions for $897,864.00.
All right. Oh, wow. Colorful. Okay. Apologies. Okay, the final bid received for this item is from, Mary Joseph, heavily taped down. Vitalis Healthcare Services LLC. I have an original, I have a flash drive, and I have 3 duplicates.
Okay.
I also have a check that I can read to you.
Yeah, give me the check amount and number first.
Okay. 47, the check amount is $47,304.06.
That was 47,304.06.
Correct.
Okay.
Excuse me, and the check number is 607-500-8102.
Did you do that special for me?
I did that for special for you.
Thank you. You're so good at that now. You've clearly been practicing. Okay. So, bid total.
The bid total for the bid from for Vitalis Healthcare for RFQ 000790 is $2,365,203.
Okay, that number was 2,365,203.00.
Correct.
Okay, that bidder was Vitalis Healthcare Services for $2,365,203.00. And that was our final of 3 bidders for RFQ 000790, Personal Care and Homemaker Services for Senior Care Clients. Okay. And our last opening today, are we ready? Is for procurement, RFQ 000800, Equipment Services, Parts, Accessories, and Supplies.
We've received 1 bid, and this is also going to be itemized, so I'm just going to read
Okay.
the name. And it's from Corelli Incorporated, and I have an original.
Okay.
And I have 2 duplicates.
And 2 dupes. No flash drives?
No flash drives.
Okay, so in this case, this is an itemized bid, so we don't share a total because there isn't one. And the agency, of course, reviews the itemized pricing provided. So the bidder in this case is Corelli Incorporated, and that's our only bidder?
Correct.
That is our only bidder for RFQ 000800, Equipment Service, Parts, Accessories, and Supplies. Sean, we might want to check the name of that RFQ also, because it seems like there's a little bit of info missing.
Equipment Service, Parts, Accessories, and Supplies.
For what? There's nothing else in the title?
Nope.
I mean, maybe there isn't, but usually there's some kind of other clue there. Okay. All right. That concludes our bid opening for today. As always, we will post these results on the Board of Estimates website, the city's website, Board of Estimates pages, and they are usually posted no later than close of business today. Our next bid opening is Wednesday, May 6th, 2026, and we'll see you all then. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, TV 25.